City Council should be happening shortly in virtual chambers here on the home of Black Talk Media, WURD. We are live on 96.1 FM, 900 AM, wordradio.com, WURD TV, and WURD app. I'm Charles Ellis, and I'm your anchor today. So I missed you all yesterday. Thanks to Brother Shamari for guest hosting yesterday's reality check. So I'm back today here for City Council Live to anchor and to guide you through the city's legislature. So definitely looking forward to that. At the top of this 10 o'clock hour, we'll just go ahead and open up the phone lines in case it's taking a few minutes to get ready. And hopefully shortly, very soon, we will be hearing the voice of Philadelphia City Council President Darrell Clark. That should be happening very soon. And very curious to see what will be on tap in City Council today. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900 here on City Council Live. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900 here on City Council Live. So phone lines are open, and you know, if you have a few moments while we're giving the Philadelphia City Council a few moments, feel free to call in and give us a sense of what is on your mind. Obviously, everyone this week still talking about, still reacting to the verdict in the trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, and also people talking about other cases as well, and what's happening in the police violence space. Some people also saying that this is not about just police violence. This is about lots of cold-blooded murder happening in many places. And so we're not just now talking about George Floyd. We're also talking about Daunte Wright in Brooklyn Center outside of Minneapolis. We're also talking about Ma'Khia Bryant in Columbus, Ohio, and so very vivid images coming out of Columbus, Ohio, and people very upset about that. And the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation has launched an investigation into that deadly shooting, the circumstances before that shooting, also why exactly did it happen, and some of the circumstances after that shooting as well. I've seen some footage of like Columbus police officers on the scene telling Ma'Khia Bryant's family, if I'm not mistaken, when I was seeing that video, telling them, something like to the effect of Blue Lives Matter. So, there's a lot of angst and over that, and so, we're all sort of reeling and just trying to figure out exactly what's going to happen next. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900 phone lines are open as we wait on the Philadelphia City Council. I'm sure members of City Council during the period for open remarks and for speeches, they may have some things to say about what has transpired this week. They may have things to say in relation to the Philadelphia Police Department. And so, exactly what's going on with the Philadelphia Police Department. And, also how expensive it becomes. I mean, that's one angle of this, is one element of it. But, police departments need to figure out a way also how to police better, how to function better. It's not even so much about policing better, but just how to be better organizations, because it's not cost effective at all when, you're constantly engaged in this type of brutality and murder, and then these tragedies happen, and then you chalk them off as mistakes, and it becomes emotionally, mentally costly and traumatic. Obviously people losing their lives, and also it's very traumatic for the families who have to deal with that loss. But then it becomes also fiscally traumatic for those communities. Just the millions upon millions, and now, a collective price tag of billions in all these various wrongful death suits and settlements as a result of, the killings of unarmed civilians, people like George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ma'Khia Bryant, Daunte Wright, so on and so forth, Philando Castile, the list goes on and on. So it's actually in the best interest of those cities and those local and state police departments, to want to manage better, to screen better, to train better, to also de-escalate better. That's one thing I want to look a little bit further into, because apparently, police departments, they're not hearing everybody from the police chiefs to rank and file police, the police unions. They don't want to hear anything about the sort of moral or, emotional aspect of this, from our perspective. So, okay, well, it's costing you, one, it's costing you a lot of money, and two, I don't understand why it keeps happening. It's not the image of American policing right now. I mean, the branding is so bad. It's not a good image. I'm wondering how they're even able to recruit people to join police departments these days. So, it's an interesting conversation to continue to unpack. Let me go to Haraya out of Ardmore as we continue to wait for Philadelphia City Council. Haraya, how are you doing?
I'm not doing too good, Charles. Look, stop trying to tell me that a 13-year-older with a gun or a 16-year-older with a knife or anybody with a knife is a challenge for a trained sharpshooter police officer. Stop telling me that you can't shoot somebody in their leg and halt them in their actions. There's no way in the world you're going to get shot in your leg and then you standing there as a 13-year-old child and you can aim perfectly and hit that officer, or you get shot in your leg and you standing there with a knife and you can continue on with your actions. As soon as you get hit, you're automatically going to stop, and that officer is trained to aim and hit. Okay, so it doesn't have to be shoot to kill. If you really have to go to shooting somebody, but like I heard one officer on one expert on CNN say he would have tackled the knife from her, and I would think that is appropriate. That you are trained where you can use self-defense and handle somebody with a knife. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no absolutes, but I do know that you don't have to shoot somebody in a section that is going to kill them.
Right.
So, right. And especially with...
No, you're very much right.
Yeah, it's no competition with, especially when you're talking about dealing with these children. They don't. Yeah. There's no way in the world they're going to aim and hit you.
Right, and we've always brought this question up, right? Like, why is it that heavily armed, full metal jacket, semi-automatic, automatic rifle carrying white mass shooters who are inflicting mass terroristic violence on, for example, the white man who was engaged in the mass shooting at the FedEx facility in Indianapolis, right? And the only reason that he died from that particular event was because he killed himself.
Right.
So the only time that a white terroristic extremist mass shooter does not survive an event like that is if they take their own life out.
Exactly.
But and we need to keep asking that question. And I understand, different local police departments and state police departments, I know they all have different types of protocols and procedures and training. But I mean, there is pretty much there's some universal kinds of training procedures and protocols. I mean, in the way that police respond to these types of events and incidents. But it's just Boulder, Colorado. I mean, the assailant, the suspect there, he's armed to the teeth. And because they saw a white man, they're like, okay, well, I think they shot him in the leg, right? They shot him in the leg.
Okay.
Right. It's just we keep seeing these instances of these heavily armed white men. Capitol Police could barely draw their guns and fire at the terrorists that attacked the U.S. Capitol.
I was just getting ready to
a few months ago. But several years ago, they couldn't wait to put 16 bullets And, a black mother who, she was having some emotional and some mental issues, and she was driving erratically from the White House to Capitol Hill. They had to stop her. Well, you can't just like shoot the tires. Like, they had to shoot in the car while her 1-year-old's in the back seat. Capitol Police and Secret Service did that. And then they just about a few weeks ago, they shot another brother who, Noah Green, who also was having some mental issues. He drove up on, tragically,
right,
unfortunately, he
yeah.
killed a Capitol Police officer. But, they were also killing Capitol Police officers during that mob attack, during that terrorist attack.
Oh, my God, they were.
So they couldn't shoot and kill them, but they kill Noah Green.
They came prepared to kill and was
Right.
standing out there. If that wasn't an assault on police officers, to be standing out there with all that artillery that they had.
That was a full-on attack. Right.
Swords, hatchets, and wait a minute, did they have one of those cannonballs? I don't know. They had a whole bunch of stuff.
They didn't have firearms, but they had baseball bats, they had knives, they had everything but firearms, right? Because they couldn't bring those into D.C.
If the girl had a grenade, a grenade or something like that, okay. But come on, they're not going to keep telling me that these kids are a challenge for them, and you're trained to be able to aim and hit your target, and you have to shoot that person to kill them.
It is statistically shown. I mean, even the federal government did this. I don't want to hear it because I know that there's some folks from other places that listen in on a program like this, and when they hear me say things like this, and then they'll kind of tag me on Twitter and say, well, yeah, but well, that's not the case. And what about black people killing black people? And all, no. That is the federal government, the FBI. The Department of Justice already did a study on this where they were saying, and also the Congressional Research Service, where they were showing that the vast majority of mass shooters, of like those white male terroristic mass shooters, they come out of those situations alive. Yes. Why is that?
And
why is that? But Ma'Khia Bryant can't come out of that alive, and she's calling the police because she's in fear of her life.
Don't give me that black on black. White people been killing white people. So that was white on white up there at the Capitol building, okay?
Right.
I mean, so ever since they got off the ship in Jamestown, they've been killing each other. They was killing each other in Jamestown, okay? And so I don't want to hear this, like when you have these mass.
Harai, I got to let you go because Philadelphia City Council just came on. We're going to hear the voice of Philadelphia City Council President Darrell Clark.
Good morning. Good morning. We're going to get started. I understand that state law currently requires that the following announcement be made at the beginning of every remote council session. Due to the current public health crisis, City Council is currently meeting remotely. We are using Microsoft Teams to make this remote meeting possible. Instructions for how the public may view the meeting and offer public comment are included in the stated meeting notice that was published in the Daily News, the Inquirer, the Legal Intelligencer prior to the meeting, and can also be found on phlcouncil.com. I now note that the hour has come. The clerk will please call a roll to take attendance. Members that are in attendance will please indicate that they are present or whatever they may so choose. We want to make sure that your image will be displayed on the screen when you speak. Mr. Decker, can you please call a roll?
Councilwoman Bass.
Good morning, Council President, colleagues in the City of Philadelphia.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Brooks.
Good morning, Council President, colleagues, the City of Philadelphia. I'm so happy to be back and healthy again.
That's what I'm talking about. Good morning, Councilwoman.
Councilman Dom.
Morning, Council President and colleagues in Philadelphia.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Gauthier.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Philadelphia. Present.
Good morning, Councilwoman.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Philadelphia, and happy Earth Day.
All right. Good morning.
Councilman Green.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Happy Earth Day. It's always good to be green in Philadelphia.
Oh my goodness. That was a song. Thank you, Councilman. Good morning.
Councilwoman Kim.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. I'm present.
Good morning, Councilwoman.
Councilman Heenan.
Good morning, Council President, and good morning, colleagues.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilman Jones.
Good morning, colleagues. One small step for a jury, one giant leap for justice. Present.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilman O.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. I'm here.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilman O'Neill.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilwoman Parker.
Good morning, Mr. President, colleagues, and our viewing public.
Good morning, Council Lady.
Councilwoman Kennedy Sanchez.
Good morning, colleagues. I am wearing green for Earth Day, not for the colleague, but it is cold outside, but it is sunny in here.
Good morning, Council Lady.
Councilman Squilla.
Good morning, Council President, colleagues, and Councilmember Sanchez. You took my green term out. I am also wearing green today for Earth Day, and but I will represent our colleague too, Councilmember Green. So present.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilman Thomas.
Good morning. Good morning, Council President. I'm having a little internet issues, so I'm going to apologize for that ahead of time. But I'm present. Happy Earth Day, and glad my colleague, Councilmember Brooks, is better.
Thank you. Good morning, Council.
Council President Clark.
And good morning. And today's a brown day for me, and brown, as in the earth, is where it all started. And good morning to all. We have established a quorum, and we'll now come to order. To give our invocation this morning, the chair recognizes Iman Idris Abdul Zahir of the Masjidullah. He is here today as the guest of Councilwoman Parker. I would ask all members and guests to please bow your heads for the invocation.
Let us pray. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, all praise is due to God, Lord of all the worlds, Lord of all that is in the heavens and in the earth. We turn to you for guidance. We turn to you for aid. We invoke your blessing on this assembly, on this day, in this holy month of Ramadan. We offer our thanks and gratitude for each member of this assembly, and we further offer our thanks and gratitude for the opportunity that we all have today to come together to work for the benefit of the citizens of this great city. We ask that you bless our efforts and help us to be present with one another, mindful of our purpose, true to the trust bestowed upon us, regardful in how we carry out our duties, and conscious of your ultimate judgment of all that we do. Lord, we ask for healing over our city, for justice to continue to prevail, for safety and security to be restored, and for prosperity and abundance for all who seek it. We know a great city is a compassionate city that cares for the most vulnerable amongst us. So, Lord, we especially pray for the salvation of our youth. Forgive us if we have been neglectful of them. Forgive us if we have set a bad example for them. And forgive us if we have failed them. Lead us all out of the depths of darkness into light, so that we all might choose peace over violence, love over hate, and hope over despair. For this we pray. Amen.
Chair, thanks to Iman for this invocation. We really appreciate those spiritual guidance that you give. Thank you, officer. And our next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, April 15, 2021, and the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, April 15, 2021 be approved.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, April 15, 2021 stand approved. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, the ayes have it, and our journal is approved. And our next order of business is request for leave of absence. And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the members of council, a leave of absence is requested for Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Leave shall be granted. Let the record reflect. And our next order of business is communication. And I will now ask the clerk to please read the messages from the mayor and any other communications that he may have in his possession.
From the mayor to the president and members of the council of the city of Philadelphia, I am transmitting for the consideration of your honorable body a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Land Bank deeds conveying title to certain properties located in the 1st Councilmanic District, and a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Land Bank deeds conveying title to certain properties located in the 5th Councilmanic District, and a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Land Bank deeds conveying title to certain properties located in the 5th Councilmanic District, and a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Land Bank deeds conveying title to certain properties located in the 8th Councilmanic District, and an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan Number 152 by striking from the City Plan 67th Street from Upland Street to its terminus northwestwardly therefrom, and reserving and placing on the city plan a right-of-way for public utility purposes within the lines of 67th Street being stricken, and an ordinance amending Section 12701 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Designation of Bicycle Lanes to authorize bicycle lanes on Race Street from North 5th Street to North 4th Street, and making associated changes to parking regulations within the same limits, and an ordinance amending Chapter 9-1000 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Trades to modify licensing and conduct requirements applicable to contractors, and an ordinance amending Title 4 of the Philadelphia Code entitled the Philadelphia Building Construction and Occupancy Code and Title 9 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Regulation of Businesses, Trades, and Professions to revise provisions relating to excavation work and work impacting historic structures, create an excavation contractor license, and institute additional safeguards for property adjoining certain construction activities, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. And our next order of business is the introduction of bills and resolutions. And by way of a reminder, we are asking that all resolutions, including privileged resolutions, be placed on the final passes calendar for our next session of council, unless they are being referred to committee. And in our current remote environment, this procedure will provide the appropriate opportunity for public comment. I would like to thank you very much for your anticipated cooperation. Mr. Decker, would you please read the titles of the legislation that is being offered today by the members?
Councilwoman Parker offers on behalf of Council President Clark one resolution entitled a resolution authorizing the creation of a special committee on city infrastructure projects under the American Jobs Plan to develop and recommend strategies for implementing, leveraging, and ensuring inclusion in city infrastructure projects funded under the American Jobs Plan.
Next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson offers one resolution entitled a resolution honoring and recognizing Philadelphia's public gardens.
Next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Gim offers on behalf of Council President Clark an ordinance officially naming and designating the dog park located on the north side of Winter Street between 21st Street and 22nd Street in the city of Philadelphia as the Rob Stewart Memorial Dog Park.
Refer to committee.
Councilman Heenan offers four resolutions entitled a resolution honoring and recognizing Sister Maureen McGarity for her commitment to the Sisters of the Holy Family of Nazareth, leadership to Holy Family University, and service to Philadelphia.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution honoring the life and legacy of Sister Francesca Only and acknowledging her lifelong commitment to her faith, family, and Sisters of the Holy Family of Nazareth, Holy Family University, and Philadelphia.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution congratulating the St. Hubert's cheerleading team for winning the 2021 PIAA Competitive Spirit State Championship.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution recognizing Tariq Khan's incredible leadership and contributions to the health and well-being of Philadelphians and extending appreciation and admiration for his efforts to vaccinate Philadelphia residents against COVID-19.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Jones offers one bill and one resolution entitled an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning to revise certain provisions of Section 14504 entitled NCO Neighborhood Conservation Overlay District.
Councilman, did you want to be recognized after the...
After the resolution, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. That will be referred to committee.
And a resolution calling for the establishment of a Philly Youth Act to reduce gun violence and foster, coordinate, and promote peace treaties amongst our Philadelphia youths.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. During a committee hearing on gun violence chaired by Councilmember Johnson, one of the things that was brought up and that we talked about was the fact during the 70s, when the House Umoja used to be a part of a anti-violence reduction effort, peace treaties between warring gangs were negotiated. Most recently, I was approached, and I won't mention the groups, to have such a negotiation. And I realized that only maybe the Schuler impact had done that in North Philadelphia, but for the most part, we have not been able to get around our table, get to the heart of some of the problems, get young men and women to commit to a period of peace that would possibly even be incentivized by some of the GVI incentives, whether it was access to jobs and other kind of incentives, to come up with a binding peace treaty for a period of time, like a summer or even a year. So what I'd like to do is get us to discuss how we could implement that with credible messengers, whether from religious institutions, mosques, churches, whatever, but to get credible messengers with some of the actors at a table to get young people to shake hands and agree not to kill each other. Novel concept that needs to be revisited. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman, for sure. That'll be next week's calendar.
Councilman Green offers 3 resolutions entitled a resolution authorizing the Committee on People with Disabilities and Special Needs to hold hearings regarding the Community Autism Peer Specialist Program, also known as CAPS.
This week's calendar.
And a resolution calling upon the United States Congress to admit Washington District of Columbia as the 51st state in our union.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution calling upon the General Assembly of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to reject Senate Bill 275, which would restrict municipalities from addressing climate change through legislating energy and heating infrastructure requirements.
Next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Brooks offers 1 resolution entitled a resolution calling on the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration to take action to prevent the transportation of liquefied natural gas through the city of Philadelphia, and further calling on the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission and or the Army Corps of Engineers to perform an environmental impact statement of the proposed docking facility in Gibbstown, New Jersey.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Squilla offers 1 bill entitled an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning by amending certain provisions of Chapter 14502 entitled CTR's Center City Overlay District to create the Mid-Walnut Street area.
For the committee.
Councilwoman Bass offers 2 bills and 1 resolution entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Broad Street, Erie Avenue, Hunting Park Avenue, Wissahickon Avenue, Railroad Right-of-Way, Clarissa Street, Juniata Street, Germantown Avenue, Hunting Park Avenue, and Roosevelt Boulevard.
For the committee.
And an ordinance amending various chapters of the Philadelphia Code to address matters related to the availability of feminine hygiene products in city facilities and making certain technical changes.
For the committee.
And a resolution also naming the 2700 block of North 21st Street, Dr. Ayla Stanford Way, to recognize, honor, and celebrate the legacy of Dr. Ayla Stanford and her dedication to the people of Philadelphia.
Councilwoman,
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Councilwoman, you want to be recognized?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. Today I introduced a bill that will require libraries, recreation centers, and district health centers to provide free feminine hygiene products to individuals using these facilities. This bill is a major step towards addressing period poverty, which in part refers to the inadequate access to menstrual products. Period poverty affects women across the globe, forcing them to resort to socks, stuffed animals, and other makeshift menstrual products. In the U.S., women struggling with having adequate menstrual hygiene because of a lack of access and a lack of income still exists. Students, low-income women, and homeless women and girls in particular face period poverty. The pink tax also adds to period poverty because the United States taxes period products as non-essential items. I don't see how that is happening. At the same time, men's grooming products and erectile dysfunction medication are not taxed. Food stamps also don't cover menstrual products. Feminine hygiene products are essential, and period poverty is a human rights issue. Period poverty is something we can fix, and we can fix it now. And I believe it starts here in Philadelphia with making these products available at these facilities. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And the Adolph Stanford resolution will be next week's calendar.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman O offers 3 resolutions entitled a resolution recognizing April 30th as Vietnamese Heritage and Freedom Flag Day as a symbol of the contributions of the Vietnamese American community in the city of Philadelphia.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution honoring historian and educator Kerry L. Bryan on the occasion of her 70th birthday.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution proclaiming the week of May 7, 2021 to May 15, 2021 as the 11th annual Philly Tech Week presented by Comcast and honoring the broad and vibrant Philadelphia technology community.
Next week's calendar.
There are no other bills or resolutions being offered by the members today, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. Our next order of business will be reports from committee, and the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla for a report from the Committee on Rules.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Rules reports out 6 bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Can you please read that report?
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, the Committee on Rules, to which is referred Bill Number 200348, entitled, an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Zoning and Planning, to amend certain provisions of Chapter 14-500, entitled Overlay Zoning Districts, by creating the WCS West Chestnut Street Overlay District. And Bill Number 210159, entitled an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Zoning and Planning, to revise certain provisions of Chapter 14600, entitled Use Regulations, by amending the retail sales use category and use-specific standards. And Bill Number 210207, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Cotman Avenue, the Montgomery County line, the Bucks County line, Interstate 95, Grant Avenue, and Roosevelt Boulevard. And Bill Number 210228, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Spruce Street, 5th Street, South Street, and 8th Street. And Bill Number 210246, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain portions of the land located within an area bounded by Delaware Expressway, Richmond Street, Lewis Street, Delaware Avenue, and Castor Avenue. And Bill Number 210247, entitled an ordinance amending the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by 63rd Street, Lansdowne Avenue, Felton Street, Addington Lane, Edgewood Street, Lansdowne Avenue, 54th Street, Girard Avenue, 59th Street, and Callowhill Street. Respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bills to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Chair again recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended and permit the first reading this day of bill numbers 200348, 210159, 210207, 210228, and 210246 and 210247.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 200348, 210159, 210207, 210228, 2106. in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Today, Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker for a report on government.
The Committee on Government reports out 2 bills and 1 resolution with a recommendation.
Please read their report.
The Committee on Law and Government, to which is referred Bill Number 210206, entitled an ordinance providing for the submission to the qualified electors of the City of Philadelphia of an amendment to Article 8, Chapter 5 of the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter, entitled Referenda Approved by the Voters, by adding a new section providing that the citizens of Philadelphia call upon the Pennsylvania General Assembly and the Governor to pass legislation that will decriminalize, regulate, and tax the use and sale to adults aged 21 years or older of cannabis for non-medical purposes. And Bill Number 210249, entitled an ordinance amending various chapters of the Philadelphia Code to amend the definitions of certain terms and provide protections for persons affected by coercive control, including in the context of employment, discrimination, employment leave, and housing protections. And Resolution Number 210215, entitled a resolution submitting to the electors of the city an amendment to the Article 8, Chapter 5 of the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter, entitled Referenda Approved by the Voters, by adding a new section providing that the citizens of Philadelphia call upon the Pennsylvania General Assembly and the Governor to pass legislation that will decriminalize, regulate, and tax the use and sale to adults aged 21 or older of cannabis for non-medical purposes. Respectfully reports it as considered the same and returns the attached bills and resolution to Council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bill numbers 210206 and 210249.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and probably second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 210206 and 210249. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Ayes have it, and these bills will be placed on our first reading calendar for today. Resolution number 210215 will be placed on our final passage calendar at our next session of council. That concludes our reports on committee, and our next order of business is the consideration of the calendar. I note that the bills just reported from committee with the suspension of the rules have been deemed to have had a first reading. These bills will be placed on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. As there are no additional bills on the first reading calendar, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker for the purpose of calling up resolutions and bills on the final passage calendar today.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following resolutions and bills are being called up from the second reading and final passage calendars today. They are numbers 210337, 210339, 210340, 210341, 210342, 210343, 210345, 210346, 210347, 210348, 210135-A, 200625, and 210226. All other resolutions and bills are being held, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. We will now move to our public comment session. But before we proceed with the consideration of the public comment, we'll take a brief 5 to 10 minute recess to give our technology professionals some time to connect the speakers that we have for today. We'll take a brief break.
Reality Check with Charles Ellison right now on WURD Radio and WURDradio.com.
All right, welcome back. We're listening in to Philadelphia City Council. It is City Council Live. It's Thursday. Reality Check Thursdays typically are City Council Live. I'm Charles Ellison. I'm your anchor. I'm at Ellison Report on Twitter.com, at Ellison Report, hashtag City Council Live. We're going to activate hashtag City Council Live, which, by the way, in case you didn't know, we do that every Thursday on Twitter. It is very active, hashtag City Council Live, just to keep track of any major comments or deliberations, any observations of note, anything that we're hearing here on City Council. So phone lines are open as we're waiting on the public comment period, as we're waiting on Philadelphia City Council to get ready for the public comment period. That is 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900. I may have seen a person or two that was on before. They probably left. I'm wondering, are they still on? Oh, Maurice out of North Philly is calling in for a City Council Live reality check. Maurice, what's up?
Hey, Charles. How's everything with you?
All right.
One, I enjoyed that conversation that Sarah Lomax Reese done yesterday. I enjoyed that conversation. You know, at least the start of it. Till we move further, I want to see where they keep going with it. But it was a great conversation her panel had on equity and diversity and partnership.
It's needed.
Community. Charles, I have a question for you. With the evidence that was overwhelming on Chauvin, right?
Yeah.
And the Department of Justice denied him a deal because the deal was he wanted 10 years. That wasn't a problem. But he wanted to do his time inside a federal prison.
Yeah.
Right? Now, have you been to a preliminary hearing before?
Have I been to a what kind of hearing? I'm sorry.
A preliminary hearing.
Preliminary hearing. I had a long time ago. Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay. The first thing they ask you in the preliminary hearing is how do you plead?
Mm-hmm.
Chauvin, in my opinion, should have pled guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Which he would have pled guilty. He's going to create what they call a colloquy between him and the judge. And the judge is going to ask him questions. Why did you plead guilty? Was you threatened? Was you promised something? Or whatever the case might be. No, I'm doing a mercy plea. That's going to help him in his favor because a lot of things that was what the prosecution built up on him, now he knocked in the head.
Mm-hmm.
As he go to his pre-trial to the common pleas court, he's going to waive his trial based on the mercy plea that he established at the preliminary hearing. So now, instead of having 3 weeks of all this evidence coming against me, I have 2 days. That's going to happen on the day I get sentenced. They will bring people in that talk good about me or talk bad about me. The medical examiner, everybody going to come in.
Yeah.
What he did was they never established a record on him had he took that plea.
Mm-hmm.
There would never been a record against him. There would never been a record against him if he waived his preliminary hearing. So that would have shifted his defense where the prosecutor would have had to go from offense to defense.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So I just looking at it more than one way of things that was going on because we have to understand Minnesota's not like Pennsylvania. Minnesota is an earned time, good time state. And there's something called, they have something called, what they say, state.
Hey, I'm sorry, Maurice, I got to cut you off because we're back at Philadelphia City Council. We're headed into public comment period.
Bills before us today, our public comment will go as follows. Public comment must concern matters on the second reading and final passage calendar for possible action at a session of council. A speaker on any of those matters must sign up in order to testify. You must call 215-686-3406 by 3 p.m. the day before the session to sign up for public comment. When you call, we will take your name, your phone number, the number of the legislative item you are commenting on, and whether you are in support of or against the legislation and add you to the list. We will telephone each person on the list during the council session and invite them to our remote meeting. Under ideal circumstances, and I think today we're going to actually have 3 minutes to speak. However, from time to time, you must note that the time limit may vary based on the volume of individuals. In order to be fair, all those wishing to speak, I intend to hold faithfully to the established time limit. Once invited to the meeting and asked to begin your testimony, a timer will be started. We will monitor your remaining time throughout your testimony, and when there are 30 seconds remaining your time, you will be reminded of this. Once your allotted time has passed, you will be asked to conclude your remarks, and shortly thereafter, you will be muted and disconnected from the remote meeting. I also reserve the right to limit the number of speakers where repetitious comments are being made on the same matter, and to limit the scope of testimony to only certain items on the agenda during the emergency, which could affect callbacks for public comment at a meeting. Please be aware that this public meeting is being recorded, and because the meeting is public, participants and viewers have no reasonable expectation of privacy. So by continuing to be in the meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. I will now ask the Chief Clerk to please read the name of our first speaker.
The first speaker is Jackson Kuziak, commenting on 210342.
Good morning. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Good morning. My name is Jackson Kuziak, and I'm speaking today in support of resolution number 210342, honoring the Solar Savings Grant Program. I am an employee of Solar States, a Philadelphia-based solar installation and training company, and we have been a partner with the Philadelphia Energy Authority on the Solar Savings Grant Program for the last 4 years as we help develop the program and eventually implement it. It has been a rewarding process to participate in this program, which is making solar more affordable through a grant to individuals in eligible low and moderate income households. I think affordability is so important when it comes to the clean energy transition because for many Philadelphians, solar is still out of reach because of the high cost and the challenges with acquiring capital and loans. With the Solar Savings Grant Program, the cost of solar is reduced dramatically. What we see when we change the economics of clean energy, we can also change the demographics and the neighborhood geographics of where solar is being deployed. We've seen through this program, we've been able to provide solar for people of all ages, ethnicities, backgrounds, and it's been a real joy to be a part of this program. Over 50 participants have been able to get solar through this program, and we've already installed several of them. We're excited to continue this effort along with the Philadelphia Energy Authority to increase access to solar and to make sure that solar development continues along the lines of climate justice and environmental justice, keeping in mind that the communities that are most burdened with toxins and environmental threats are often the last to receive the services and the benefits of the clean energy transition. At Solar States, our mission is solar for all, and we want to see that not only in the deployment of solar into the community, but also in the training of eligible individuals to learn to become solar installers and to enter the green economy. This is a big part of our mission as a local Philadelphia-based solar installer, and we hope to continue to partner with City Council on great innovative programs like the Solar Savings Grant Program so we can continue to provide solar at an affordable and accessible rate for people across the city of Philadelphia. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Jeanette Steffens, commenting on 210337.
Good morning. State your name for the record and please proceed with your testimony.
Giving honor to God and this assembly of councilwomen and men, I thank you for this honor to speak for my husband, Frank Stevens, and his accomplishments. Frank was a very humble person. He enjoyed his 38 years with the Free Library of Philadelphia. During this time, he exhibited many well-known artists and writers. They included Marian Anderson and Maurice Sendak. Marian Anderson, he visited her home. He eventually did a portrait of her that looks like she just stepped right out of the portrait. And Maurice Sendak, who did where the wild things are, he autographed the book and wrote a little character in there, the French. He had a wonderful career with the library. We were so proud of him. He was a deacon at Zion Baptist Church, where many years Reverend Sullivan and Mrs. Sullivan was head of the church. And when Mrs. Sullivan started the university, he did all of her publishing work for her and helped her get her university on ground and starting. He also visited the White House while he was at the library in his job. He loved his family, and it was wonderful. I guess his parents moved to Philadelphia because the opportunity, as the years went by, that he went to the Free Library of Philadelphia and had a wonderful career, and his relationship with his staff was tremendous. And even before he passed, he was retired, he kept up with his staff. He also enjoyed doing his artwork at home. The home is filled with his artwork. and he had a major exhibit with Villanova and many other major institutions. Frank was during his 89 years of life, he accomplished a lot, and we are so very proud of his accomplishment, and we are just so happy that you have given us this honor to speak with him, and we thank you for your resolution, and may God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Stevens, just for the record, to state your name, please.
My name is Jeanette Stevens, Frank Stevens' wife.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Cindy Griffin, commenting on 210348.
Good morning. I'll just state your name for the record, and please proceed with your testimony.
Good morning. My name is Cindy Griffin, and I'm speaking in favor of Resolution 210348. I want to thank Councilwoman Bass for raising awareness about the need for additional efforts towards gender equity in sports and putting forth Resolution 210348. The discrepancies that we saw in the NCAA men's and women's basketball tournaments this spring were certainly alarming. Unfortunately, the discrepancies were, in many ways, a symptom of a much bigger problem in sports. First, while we saw the visible inequalities in weight rooms for athletes and swag bags at the men's tournament versus the women's basketball tournament, the issues in basketball run much deeper. For example, media contracts and the difference in value, the NCAA governance structure, the branding of the events. For example, women do not use March Madness. And then attendance. Women's tournaments are in NBA arenas versus the men's tournaments, which are often in domes. And then there's the case of the men's basketball unit, which is distributed throughout the conferences. And there's no units for women's basketball. Without these units, it leaves incentives for women's basketball to have more success in this area. Can the structure be changed over time? And second, while the tournament inequities appropriately led people to point the finger at the NCAA, gender equity issues are not unique to the NCAA. For example, if you're looking at pro and national teams, the WNBA rookie salary coming out is $57,000, as opposed to an NBA rookie salary, which starts at $3.4 million with a guaranteed 3-year contract. And then there's the U.S. women's national soccer team versus the men's national team. Megan Rapinoe, who is a advocate for equal pay, said men are often compensated on the potential that they show, not necessarily what they have done. And women are so often paid on what they have actually done, which normally they outperform their contract. Maybe more importantly, the media and the same media to blame the NCAA can often go a day without mentioning women's sports in their outlets, ESPN and newspapers. And last, coaching is another disparity, which may be one of the most notable forms of sex discrimination in employment, where women have almost a 0% chance of coaching men, but men have a 50% or greater chance of coaching women. There's a tremendous amount of work to be done, but it needs to start with the acknowledging the issues. On behalf of myself and St. Joseph's University, we thank you for starting the conversation here in Philadelphia.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Jenny Greenberg, commenting on 210339.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Jenny Greenberg. I'm the executive director of the Neighborhood Gardens Trust, Philadelphia's land trust for the protection of community managed open spaces. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak today and extend my special thanks to council members Catherine Gilmore Richardson, Jamie Gaudier, and Mark Squilla for co-sponsoring the Earth Day resolution recognizing 2 of the amazing community gardens that NGT has the honor of working with, the Holly Street Neighbors Community Garden and Growing Home Gardens. The hard work, vision, and perseverance of the hundreds of community residents who cultivate and steward these spaces truly deserves our profound respect and celebration. Community gardens serve an essential function in our city. They've been shown to support mental and physical health and to reduce neighborhood violence. They provide opportunities for residents to grow healthy, affordable food and to spend time de-stressing in nature. They reduce urban heat, and they're a vehicle for community building and for self-determination. This most challenging past year has reinforced more than ever how vital these spaces are and that we can't afford to lose any more of them to development. Just this week, I learned of another West Philadelphia garden that was lost at Sheriffsdale, which is heartbreaking. We need to continue to work together to make the future of these shared growing spaces a priority. A well-funded and high-capacity prioritizes open space, as well as resolving the city's situation with U.S. bank liens, is critical. Next, you're going to hear from Elizabeth Waring about how this issue is playing out at the Holly Street Neighbors Garden, which is in serious jeopardy with 3 privately owned parcels of land. The Growing Home Garden, which is also being honored today, serves over 100 refugee families and was almost lost on multiple occasions when developers acquired parcels and threatened to build houses on the garden. Through 5 years of incredible partnership between Councilman Squilla and GT, CMAC, and the city's landholding agencies, we were able to secure and preserve all of the land, and now it's permanently protected open space where stewards can plant their spring seedlings with peace of mind, knowing they will not lose access to the land. In closing, thank you for recognizing the value of community gardens on Earth Day, and we look forward to working with you all year long to ensure these precious spaces like Holly Street Neighbors Garden and Growing Home and so many others can be saved to shape a sustainable, equitable, and livable future for all Philadelphians.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Elizabeth Waring, commenting on 210339.
Good morning. Just state your name for the record. Please proceed with your testimony.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Waring, and I've been managing the Holly Street Garden. I'm in support of the resolution for the garden to be a living memorial to Winnie Harris, who with neighbors, friends, and other gardeners started the garden in 2005, and her mission was to build community around greening, education, and gardening. At Winnie's homegoing service in 2017, Councilwoman Janie Blackwell promised the preservation of the Holly Street Neighbors Community Garden into the Neighborhood Garden Trust. Since then, we have been maintaining the garden, growing, and many upkeeps of the garden. To date, as far as I know, there are 2 parcels that are still in limbo to developers to get it into the Philadelphia land swap. And about 3 years ago, one of the developers vandalized the garden. So I'm hoping that the land bank can expedite the land swap with the developers very soon, and also for the city to satisfy the lien to secure the garden. And we also are anti-gun violence. So I'm praying, and we're all praying for a renewed mindset to love ourselves and each other. So with that, in closing, I'd like to thank you, Councilwoman Squilla and Garden. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Chris Spar, commenting on 210342.
WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
My name is Chris Spar. Good morning, Council President Clark and Philadelphia City Council members. Happy Earth Day. And thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of Resolution 210342, honoring the Philadelphia Energy Authority's Solar Savings Grant Program. I'm the Executive Director of the Centennial Parkside Community Development Corporation, located in the East Parkside neighborhood of West Philadelphia. The Centennial Parkside CDC is a partner on the Solar Savings Grant Program, as we raised $220,000 to finance this project through donations from the William Penn Foundation and Spark Therapeutics with the help of tax credits from the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development. We did this because we believe that low-income communities like our neighborhood in East Parkside should be on the forefront of battling climate change. Yet, environmental innovations that can support this effort are often out of reach of these communities due to the high cost of implementation. We believe that programs such as the Philadelphia Energy Authority's Solar Savings Grant Program provides the opportunity for low-income families to be at the forefront of the battle for climate change and helps in providing valuable cost savings to families that struggle with energy insecurity. This program also supports jobs in the solar energy sector, as we heard from Solar States earlier, as well as provides economic development opportunities for low-income communities like ours. We look forward to continuing to support Philadelphia's low-income population by continuing to be a partner on this program, and I am grateful to Councilmember Gilmore Richardson for introducing this resolution. This is the conclusion of my testimony. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Tyrone Jackson, commenting on 210342.
Good morning. I'll state your name for the record, and please proceed with your testimony.
Good morning. My name is Tyrone Jackson. I'm in support of Resolution 210342. And as mentioned earlier, I'm one of the low-income individuals who was able to benefit from Solar States as a person who lives in West Philadelphia and is a person who is in a community that is relatively low income. It's really important to make sure that Solar States is able to service these communities, because at the lowest end of the spectrum, it's really important for wide adoption to make sure that we can actually turn around some of the things that are damaging our planet environmentally and for climate change, just to make sure that, again, at that level, we can make sure that people are being serviced. I'm able to see in my community that by going green, they're able to uplift each other with jobs, insight, and access, as those are important for growth in Philadelphia and for the future of Philadelphia. So I hope that's done.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Mahesh Ilyas, commenting on 210342.
Good morning. I'll state your name for the record, and please proceed with your testimony.
Good morning, honorable council members. I'm Mavish Ilyas with the Philadelphia Energy Authority. I'm speaking to support the resolution honoring the Solar Savings Grant Program, resolution number 210342. The Philadelphia Energy Authority, also known as PEA, is an independent municipal authority created in 2010 to advance energy affordability and sustainability for Philadelphia. PEA has facilitated over $167 million in clean energy projects since launching the Philadelphia Energy Campaign in 2016, creating more than 1,700 jobs. I'm really excited to be joining the City Council today to celebrate Earth Day and to announce the outcomes of our Solar Savings Grant Program. PEA's Solar Savings Grant Program is the city's first solar program for low and moderate income households. The program offers rooftop solar installations at no upfront cost through a blend of subsidy and low-cost financing. We designed this program to address barriers preventing low and moderate income households to go solar, knowing that these households would benefit the most from electric bill savings and local job creation. LMI households and people of color often lack access to affordable energy provided by rooftop solar. Through the pilot phase of the program, PEA facilitated 50 low and moderate income households to go solar from across 26 city zip codes with household incomes less than 80% of the area median income. The program delivers bill savings starting in year one. I'd really like to thank our program partners who made this initiative possible, including the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency, Solar States, Centennial Parkside Community Development Corporation, the William Penn Foundation, Spark Therapeutics, and the National Energy Improvement Fund. Thank you so much, Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore Richardson, for introducing the resolution to celebrate the city's first LMI solar initiative. The Philadelphia Energy Authority is committed to supporting Philadelphia to transition to clean energy at the pace required by climate crisis in a way that benefits are shared equitably in the city's low and moderate income communities. Our goal is to support 10,000 LMI households to go solar by 2026. I wanted to mention that the Solar Savings Grant Program is a part of Solarize Philly, the largest initiative of its kind in the country. Since the launch of the program in 2017, over 750 homes have gone solar. We will be reopening Solarize Philly for its fifth phase soon with offering for LMI households, so I look forward to collaborating with the City Council to spread the word about the program. Thank you so much and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
There are no other speakers, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. That concludes our public comment session. We will now consider the bills and resolutions on the second reading and final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210337.
A resolution honoring the life and legacy of Frank L. Stevens, Jr., and recognizing his work at the Free Library of Philadelphia and his dedication to elevating Black art and stories.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Been moved and probably second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210339.
A resolution honoring and recognizing community garden leaders for their stewardship and service on the occasion of Earth Day 2021.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank all of those who provided public comment in support of this resolution, and I move the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210340.
A resolution calling on the City of Philadelphia Office of Fleet Management to develop and execute a request for proposals for additional electric vehicles and charging station infrastructure for such vehicles in the City of Philadelphia's fleet.
Thank you. The chair again recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and our resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210341.
A resolution recognizing April 22, 2021 as Earth Day in the City of Philadelphia.
Chair, one more time, recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the occasion of Earth Day, I move the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210342.
A resolution honoring and thanking the Philadelphia Energy Authority for its Solar Savings Grant Program.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. And I quickly wanted to take this time to thank you for your foresight and insight in establishing PEA, to Emily and their entire team for their steadfast hard work on the Solar Savings Grant Program. And with that, Mr. President, I move the adoption of the resolution.
You've been working, Councilwoman. I second it.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman. It's been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210343.
A resolution honoring the life and legacy of Donald McRogan and recognizing his lifelong dedication to family, friends, and advancing the labor movement of Philadelphia.
Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210-345.
A resolution standing in solidarity with the residents of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the midst of repeated eruptions of La Soufriere volcano and encouraging Philadelphians to offer their support in whatever ways they can.
And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Gauthier for a motion.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210-346.
A resolution honoring and congratulating Imhotep Charter Boys Basketball Team on their successful 2020-2021 season and overall undefeated record in the Philadelphia Public League Boys Basketball Championships.
And chair recognizes Councilman Thomas for a motion.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed,
Aye.
ayes have it.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, 210-347.
A resolution recognizing and honoring 1 million black women, an initiative launched by Goldman Sachs, black women-led organizations, and other partners, which will commit $10 billion in direct investment capital and $100 million in philanthropic support to address gender and racial biases black women have faced for generations.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am so proud to move for the adoption of this resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and proudly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is proudly adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210-348.
A resolution calling on the National Collegiate Athletic Association to reevaluate its policies and practices related to gender equity and to implement steps to close gender gaps in all sports and divisions.
And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I look forward to having additional conversation. I know this council body is ready as we support and call for the adoption of this resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded as a part of sports talk this morning. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and our resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of bill number 210-135A.
An ordinance amending Chapter 9208 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Sidewalk Cafes and Title 4, Subcode A of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Use Registration Permits by adding new provisions allowing restaurants applying for a sidewalk cafe permit or temporary lot uses permit to allow outdoor entertainment.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for an amendment to bill number 210-135A.
Thank you, Mr. President. And before I offer that amendment, I wanted to briefly thank you, thank Councilmember Bass, Councilmembers Johnson, my co-sponsors, Councilmembers Heenan and Dom, and Councilmember Squilla for their wise counsel throughout this process. It's often said by members of Congress who love to repeat this quote that's been attributed to Otto von Bismarck: if you like laws and sausages, you should never watch either one of them being made. So in other words, the legislative process, though messy and sometimes unappetizing, can produce healthy, wholesome results. And in that vein, I will offer amendments today to the outdoor entertainment bill after much conversation, dialogue, and communication with our colleagues. The amendments will give the Streets Department the ability to change certain provisions of the legislation through regulation if there are concerns with health or public safety. The First Amendment will allow the Streets Department to extend the notification requirement for significant geographic areas of the city. The bill requires that a business provide a minimum of 72-hour notice to the city before a performance. If it becomes clear that a certain community needs to be notified earlier in order to better prepare performances, Streets will have the authority to extend the minimum notification requirement for that area through regulation. The Second Amendment will allow the Streets Department to restrict by regulation the number of hours during which a performance can take place. For example, if a certain area is highly residential and performances that go until 10 p.m. would create issues with health or public safety, Streets will be able to say that performances in that area must end by an earlier time. Importantly, businesses must still adhere to all other sections in the Philadelphia Code, ensuring that enforcement for noise violations, community disruption, or unsafe environments will be shut down. So I just wanted to thank you so much for all of your work and collaboration. And with that, Mr. President, I move for the adoption of the amendment for Bill number 210135A, and a copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of council.
Second.
Second. She moves for the adoption of the amendment. Thank you, Council Lady.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Bill number 210135A has been amended. Bill number 210135A, as amended, will be placed on our final passage calendar at our next session of council. Mr. Decker, please read the title of Bill number 200625.
An ordinance amending Title IX of the Philadelphia Code entitled Regulation of Businesses, Trades, and Professions by adding a new chapter, 94700, to prohibit employers from requiring prospective employees to undergo testing for the presence of marijuana as a condition of employment.
This bill had been read on 2 different days. The question now, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass.
Aye.
Councilwoman Brooks.
Aye.
Councilman Dom.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gauthier.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gim.
Aye.
Councilman Heenan.
Aye.
Councilman Jones.
Aye.
Councilman O.
Nay.
Councilman O'Neill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Parker.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quinones Sanchez.
Aye.
Councilman Squilla.
Aye.
Councilman Thomas.
Aye.
Council President Clark.
Aye. The ayes are 15 and nays are 1. The majority of all members having voted in affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, please read the title of Bill number 210226.
An ordinance authorizing transfers and appropriations for fiscal year 2021 from the General Fund, the Council, to the General Fund, certain Royal City offices, departments, boards, and commissions, for the purpose of further implementing Council's new normal jobs initiatives and adjusting Council's internal appropriations.
Thank you. This bill has been read on 2 different days. The question now is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass.
Aye.
Councilwoman Brooks.
Councilwoman Brooks. Come back.
Councilman Dom.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gauthier.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gim.
Aye.
Councilman Heenan.
Aye.
Councilman Jones.
Councilman Jones.
Councilman O.
Aye.
Councilman O'Neill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Parker.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quinones Sanchez.
Aye.
Councilman Squilla.
Aye.
Councilman Thomas.
Aye.
Council President Clark.
Aye. The ayes are 14, nays are 0. Majority of all members having voted in affirmative, the bill passed.
Mr. President,
Yeah.
I was having technical difficulties.
Okay.
I wish to be recorded as aye.
Okay. The ayes were 15. And we're still awaiting.
Council President, this is Councilmember Brooks. I was also having technical difficulties. I want to be recorded as aye.
Thank you, Councilman. Let the record reflect that the ayes are 16, nays are 0. Okay, Mr. Decker, you have any additional resolutions for today?
A resolution authorizing the Committee on People with Disabilities and Special Needs to hold hearings regarding the Community Autism Peer Specialist Program, also known as CAPS, introduced by Councilman Green.
Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And there are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. That completes our calendar for today. Prior to recognizing members regarding speeches, I will note for the record at this time that we will use the chat feature available on Microsoft's team to allow members to signify that they wish to be recognized. In order to comply with the Sunshine Act, the chat feature must only be used for this particular purpose. With that said, speeches on behalf of the minority, Chair recognizes Councilwoman Brooks.
Thank you so much, Council President. I want to first thank my colleagues and the public for the outpouring of love and support that I have received as I recovered from COVID. And I'm feeling so much better now, and I'm so happy to be back at work. I also want to acknowledge my colleague, Council Member Gilmore Richardson, for introducing the resolution in honor of Earth Day and for her ongoing work to fight environmental justice here in Philadelphia. It is in the spirit of Earth Day that she and I are introducing a resolution today calling on the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration not to extend a special permit for the transportation of liquefied natural gas to Philadelphia. Liquefied natural gas is known as LNG, is a hazardous substance which is highly flammable and has the potential of dangerous explosions. The planned route of transport of LNG between Wyalusing Township, PA, and Gibson, New Jersey would cut through the city of Philadelphia along both the Schuylkill and Delaware rivers. This route would endanger not only our natural environment, but the homes, daycare centers, schools, hospitals, businesses, and communities along the train route, and likely rail routes traveling through these communities with proportionally more people of color and in low-income populations, communities which time and time again bear the burden of environmental racism. The permit does not provide adequate safety protections for the communities through which the rail cars will travel. Furthermore, LNG transport and export incentivizes fracking, which poses direct and imminent threat to the human health and the climate. This Earth Day, it is important that we evaluate the environmental dangers we are exposing our communities to and ask ourselves, how are we making our city livable, not just for this generation, but for generations to come? So I want to thank Councilmember Gilmore Richardson for introducing this resolution with me. And I also want to thank my colleagues, Council Members Gil, Thomas, and Bass for co-sponsoring this resolution. Thank you so much, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman, and welcome back. Really happy that you're feeling much better. Speeches on behalf of the majority. Council Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to rise to recognize a young lady, a teenager by the name of Danielle Frazier. She was the young lady that had the courage to hold up a cell phone, which documented the tragedy that was memorialized around the world and really changed the course of American justice. And thanks to her courage, we were able to see up close and personal what injustice looks like. But what we took away from that whole trial and travesty was a couple of words. One was accountability. Accountability means that everybody, every entity, whether you're talking about doctors who have to go before the medical boards, whether you talk about lawyers who have to deal with the Bar Association, whether you talk about football players who have to deal with Roger Goodell, no one is above the law. No one should be below the law. And that's what we took away with that word. The other one is proportionality. Proportionality means that the crime and punishment should be proportional. That in Les Miserables, no one should go to jail for life for stealing a loaf of bread, and no one should die for passing a $20 counterfeit bill to get cigarettes. Proportionality means that the punishment should fit the crime. The third word that we learned was forgiveness, because that jury sentenced a man, former police officer, to probably a lengthy prison sentence. What we as a nation have to do is learn and begin the process of healing, because from the president to our mayor to our police commissioner, all of them saw this lesson, and hopefully will learn from this lesson and take these lessons so that even major portions of society, such as criminal justice, such as police departments, can learn from things and then forgive both and begin the healing process for our nation and our city. I know, you know, members in this body know how close we came to the edge. It was scary that had that trial ended a different way, we would be right now trying to deal with some of the uprising and some of the consequences based on that decision. So we should take this opportunity to heal as a nation, to forgive, but never forget, and begin to take those lessons to the next step. And that accountability word also can be used in the police, Citizens Police Oversight Committee, which I hope that this body will begin the hearings and begin the process of evaluation so that we can take what we've learned and apply it to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President, and thank you, Councilmember Jones, for your words in reference to what has been such a impactful and pivotal week in reference to equity and reform. I just want to remind my colleagues that next Thursday, April 29th, from 9:15 to 10 a.m., we'll be having a training regarding helping people with autism and neurodiversity, specifically focusing on constituent services. We'll have Dr. Wendy Ross, who's the director of the Jefferson Center for Autism and Neurodiversity, and as well as Sabre Townsend, who is the director of operations for that center, as well as Assistant Professor Jane Tobias, who will be on the Zoom link, for offices within City Hall to be able to have a better understanding how to provide constituent services to those who are neurodiverse and on the autism spectrum. I know my office sent out an email to all members of council and their staff. We'll send out a reminder, and if there are other offices within City Hall that would like to participate, in this conversation, this training, please feel free to reach out to my office. This is another way of continuing the conversation and dialogue as we come to the soon close of April and the end of Autism Acceptance and Awareness Month. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Barker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I want to start by thanking Councilmember Johnson, whose work regarding gun violence I learned about long before he ever got elected to public office, when he had a tragic loss within his own family. He founded the organization called Peace Not Guns. To our whip, Councilman Curtis Jones, whose life experience, along with his leadership and partnership with the House of Umoja, yourself, Councilwoman Gautier, a newer member of our body, who has made this issue one of the hallmarks of her advocacy, and quite frankly, Mr. President, all members of our body, because I believe our collective work is what will help to move our city in the right direction as we focus on eradicating gun violence in our city. With that being said, I want to follow up on Councilman Jones's comments in noting that those responsible for the death of George Floyd being held accountable in our criminal justice system is just the floor. We in no way, shape, or form, while we were excited because, as Councilmember Jones stated, we know what would have happened if, in fact, the verdict would have gone another way. But we were, many of us, pleased to see that our criminal justice system brought some much-needed balance to the scales of justice. But I would argue, Mr. President, that until we focus on the economic violence and the economic exclusion of Black and brown people in our local, regional, state, and national economies, we won't ever see a level playing ground that will put people on the path to self-sufficiency in their own right. So I just want to say to each and every one of our colleagues that I look forward to working with each of you as it relates to creating economic opportunities like those presented in the plan that we introduced here in Council. Next, Mr. President, I wanted to say a special thank you to Councilmember Bass for the legislation that she introduced, calling for hygiene, feminine hygiene products to be available in libraries and other public health facilities. Many of you will remember that it was about 2 years ago that we in this body introduced a citation resolution working in conjunction with the Women's Commission honoring the mother-daughter duo, Lynette Medley and her daughter Naya, who with their own resources, grit, and sheer determination defined what the issue of period poverty meant here in our city. So I consider them to be the mother and sister of the issue of period poverty, particularly after them having opened up a hub, which is also located in Council Member Bass's district, first menstrual hub in the nation. Now, I just want to put on the record that they have had folks reach out to them from Germany, from Brazil, from places all throughout Europe and across the world, asking how can they be supportive and how can they come and help them open up a menstrual hub. I don't know that we can see that kind of innovation happen with the health disparities, particularly amongst Black women that have been laid bare as a result of COVID, and the city of Philadelphia not have a formal funding relationship with them via the health department. And so I look forward to working with Councilmember Bass and all members of this body to ensure that that becomes a major focal point via the health department's budget during our budget process. And finally, I just want to encourage all members of the viewing public to join us today at 1 p.m. For a law and government hearing on virtual sheriff sales in the city of Philadelphia. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, colleagues, for your patience.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, colleagues, and good afternoon, Philadelphia. I just wanted to offer very brief remarks today on Earth Day as the chair of the Committee on the Environment. And I wanted to thank my colleagues for their support of all the resolutions we offered in honor of Earth Day, but also recognizing the hard work many Philadelphians do each and every day to celebrate and sustain our Earth and advocate for creating a climate resilient, sustainable, environmentally just Philadelphia. So as a city, we have significant goals ahead of us, including carbon neutral by 2050, zero waste by 2030, Vision Zero by 2030, and the new transit plan we released. These are all major goals, and they are important, and we can't achieve them alone. We will need support from the state and federal government, which we hope is coming in the American Jobs Plan, but we will also need to continue to elevate these issues to be central to our work. Addressing climate change needs to become a core part of what every part of our city government does. And I will continue advocating for this work in this body and working very closely with the administration and my colleagues in the Committee on the Environment to create policy solutions that will bring us closer to these goals. Additionally, Mr. President, I wanted to thank the members of our Environmental Committee subgroups, too many to name, over 100, but we have listed them on our social media today, so I'll just thank the 7 subgroups of air quality, energy, green economy, green space, transportation, waste, and water. And we have been meeting with over 101 groups every month this past year. And their work has really been the impetus of most of the legislation we have put forth this year. And while we recognize it's been a very challenging year, and I recognize we're facing additional challenges ahead, I am urging all of us to continue to think innovatively about how we can use cross-cutting solutions to address many of these issues together. So thank you, Mr. President, and happy Earth Day, Philadelphia. And thank you so much, Councilmember Jones, to the Lowe's of Parkside, who is giving out trees today along with all the Lowe's across the country. And we'll be picking up our tree later this afternoon to plant it here in the city of Philadelphia to help us with our tree canopy and the urban heat island impact that we are seeing in predominantly Black and brown communities. So thank you very, very much, Mr. President, and thank you all. Happy Earth Day.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we look through these trying times and understanding that, you know, sometimes people lose faith in our elected officials or the media, maybe there's this opportunity now that we could see that through responsibility, accountability, and justice is possible if we all work together and push people to do the right thing. And I think that, you know, saying that, you know, we and City Council had held hearings about standardized testing in schools and, you know, the concerns we had. And when I first approached the subject, it was not a popular conversation to have with some of the people in the school district. But, you know, we have the PSSAs, the Keystone exams, the NOCTI for CTE students, Access for English learners. You know, are they good tools to measure academic growth? You know, people have concerns. Some say that it's a good way to determine whether or not students are learning or learning at proper rate. Others point that, you know, standardized tests are more of a measure of your economic status and that there's narrowed the curriculum so that so much time is spent teaching to the test. Still others say that it widens the educational gap between the haves and has-nots by separating them into selective schools. Whatever the beliefs are in standardized tests under the normal circumstances, I think we all could agree that last year has not been a normal one for our students here in the city of Philadelphia. I support the idea of students returning safely to our classrooms. You know, we hope that we can joyfully reunite with the teachers and friends. It should be a time where students reacclimate themselves to learning in person, and it should be a time to celebrate some degree of normalcy and to begin, but to isolate that we had in last year and hopefully put that behind us. But the state and the school district have decided, or seem to decide, and I'm trying to figure out, that the PSSA is more important, that our kids will spend time in the next 2 weeks in-person learning, sitting alone, taking a test. I think we as council, when we had our hearings, when I called for the hearings several years ago, really stepped up and say that, in this moment to prioritize, testing over the needs of the students is a challenge. We have a very short time this year to be in school, and this is, we know that the emotional and educational health of our children are so important. I urge the district and the state to take the past for this year's for the PSSA, Keystones this spring, and let's give the children some grace and some time to get back to educating and learning in a proper manner after this tough year. So if we see that they're going to continue to push for these type of testing with our students, I think it's time to have another hearing and bring them in to discuss these challenges. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I believe it appears that is all the speeches for today on behalf of the minority and the majority. And with that being the case, I'm going to recognize Councilman Jones for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that council stand adjourned until Thursday, April 29th, 2021 at 10 a.m.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Council stand adjourned until Thursday, April 29th, 2021 at 10 a.m. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you all very much. And again, be safe.
Reality check with Charles Ellison right now on WURD Radio and WURDradio.com.
All right, you were just listening in to Philadelphia City Council. City Council Live is here every Thursday on WURD 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURDradio.com, WURD TV, WURD app. Phone lines are open now. Phone lines are open at 215-634-8065 and 866-361-0900. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
I'm Henry Louis Gates Jr. We are people of resilience. No matter what happens, we fight through the pain. We protect our traditions. We uphold our excellence. So let's protect our lives. With vaccines, we can trust. We can do this.
To learn more about COVID-19 vaccines, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Temple University, Philadelphia's public university, was founded on the principle that access to education is a right for everyone. As part of our commitment to inclusive excellence and equity in education, we have invested more than $1 million in anti-racism programming. Our goal is for everyone to feel empowered to be themselves, be open to new experiences, and be a part of solutions to societal challenges. We're proud to provide a supportive and welcoming environment for everyone in the Temple community.
Buying something from a dealer just sounds a bit, well, put it like this. My cousin Ray Ray got arrested for buying something from a dealer. So why would you want to buy your car from a dealer? Hi, everybody. This is Nick inviting you to buy your next car from Jerry over at Cardex. See, they're not dealers. They're like a car concierge service. They design a car around you. Almost any make. If it's not on the lot, they'll go out and get it for you. So use my car concierge, where I've already bought 4 cars. Cardex at 116 East Glenside Avenue in Glenside, Pennsylvania. Check them out online at cardexinc.com. Or call Cardex at 215-886-3230.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Hey WURD family, have you heard of the new Go to Know campaign? If not, here is the deal. WURD Radio has partnered with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, Penn Medicine, LabCorp, and the Independence Blue Cross Foundation to present the Go to Know Fit Kit Screening Campaign. The Go to Know campaign is an at-home screening test for colon cancer. Yup, you heard me right. You can take your own stool sample and mail it back for testing. Did you know colon cancer, if caught early, is 100% preventable? African Americans are 20% more likely to get colon cancer and about 40% more likely to die from it than most other groups. Plus, it is recommended you get screened if you are 45 years of age or older. So for the next 6 months, you can go to wordradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner for your free at-home screening test. It's that simple. Again, just go to wordradio.com, click on the Go to Know banner, and request your free at-home screening test. That's it. Go to Know today.
Reality Check with Charles Ellison right now on WURD Radio and WURDradio.com.
Okay, welcome back. We're going to go ahead and transition to Reality Check. Came out of City Council Live. Philadelphia City Council ending a bit earlier than they have in recent weeks. So 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. Also, I'm staying on at 1 o'clock. At 1 o'clock, you will listen in to our special Earth Day broadcast, The Fight for Our Space. The Fight for Our Space, having a special broadcast where we're going to talk about the challenges that we have with the spaces that we live in. And that's the most important challenge, especially in this 21st century. And it intersects with all the other problems and challenges that we have. The environment is a top-level, #1 priority issue. It always has been. It's always played a very prominent and very problematic and deadly role, a horrific role, especially with respect to our community for several hundred years now. And so we're going to have that conversation. It is Earth Day. It is not a happy Earth Day. It is not a happy Earth Day. It is a very troubling Earth Day, particularly when we are faced with climate crisis. We have weather patterns that intensify and are getting worse, whether it's winter, spring, or summer. And it is having a very disproportionate and unhealthy impact on our communities, and we need to lead on that. We need to do something about that. One way of doing something about that is projecting the conversation, is elevating the conversation, and helping people understand that it is the environment, it is a problem. People may be saying right now as they're listening in on this broadcast, they live in Philadelphia, well, you know, the top problem that I'm dealing with right now, I don't want to talk about green stuff. I want to talk about the violence. Violence, which is the #1 crisis in the city of Philadelphia right now, is an environmental problem. It intersects with all those other issues dealing with it's from black people being forced into spaces that they don't want to live in, or being forced out of spaces that they do want to stay in, or being, or it's being determined that you have a certain quality of life because of the zip code. It's intersecting with, you heard, I think it was Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore Richardson talk about urban heat islands. Yes, that worsens, that aggravates and intensifies the violence. Trash. Trash is an environmental problem. The more trash you have on your streets, the more neglect that you have in neighborhoods, environmental neglect especially, crime goes up. So, you do something about that trash problem. It's been scientifically proven the crime goes down. So, violence also results from food deserts and food swamps, lack of access to nutritional food, lack of access to health care. All of that aggravates the violence. So the more that people want to say that that's not their problem, you must not want to do anything about the violence. So you're becoming a big part of the problem. So this is a very important conversation that we're going to be having starting at 1 p.m. We're going to, for 3 hours, talk to a variety of experts and voices and activists. And we're going to, obviously, we do that regularly here on, especially Reality Check on WURD and through our EcoWord Environmental Justice Journalism Initiative, because, we've all, for a while now, we've been elevating and escalating this discussion and ensuring that that talk turns into some kind of action. Because City Council can introduce all the resolutions it wants honoring people in the environmental space or in the environmental justice space, but City Council did just a couple of years ago approve a $60 million liquefied natural gas plant in Southwest Philly. They definitely didn't get in the way of a natural gas plant for SEPTA to operate in Nicetown, where you have nearly 50,000 people living within a 1 mile radius of it, and they're going to be exposed, particularly during those hot summers. They're being exposed to more noxious fumes and methane, and that's just going to make already existing cancer and respiratory illness and asthma rates get higher. So it's like they can pat themselves all they want on the back and see we as a public need to hold these policymakers and these legislative bodies accountable. Like don't let them get away with just introducing resolutions to make it seem like they're being active on environmental justice or making the environment, making our spaces better places, more habitable, healthy places to live in. We need to watch them very carefully and make sure that they are making those investments, that they're working towards that end right now, and not just with resolutions. That's why a lot of these honorific resolutions are empty. And you have to understand that. We want action. We want action. We want investments. We want money being put into places. And we also want the city of Philadelphia to stop speaking out of both sides of its mouth. On one hand, saying, yeah, we want to go. Well, I mean, in all fairness to Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore Richardson, I wish she was here back in 2019. She hadn't started yet when the city council did something like approve a natural gas plant. But you can't on one hand say, oh, we're going to reach all these ambitious green and anti-climate crisis and pro-environmental goals, and we're going to enhance quality of life, and we're going to find ways to make air, water, and land healthier in Philadelphia. But on the other hand, you're expanding toxic natural gas infrastructure in the city. It can't go both ways. You can't have it both ways on that. Either you're going towards those ambitious goals to give us and to give our children and grandchildren a better life, or you're not. Let me go to Maurice out of Southwest, who's calling in for a reality check. Maurice? Maurice, are you there? All right, going to give Maurice another moment, really. I don't know if he hears us or we don't hear him. Anyway, 215-634, you can call back, Maurice, if you, for some reason, we couldn't hear each other. 215-634-8065. Yeah, it was something on his end. So feel free to call back, Maurice. Maybe we'll get you after the next break that's coming up. Phone lines are open at 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900. And let's have a conversation before we start our special broadcast at 1 p.m. Let's have a conversation about our environment. And it's not just the environment. It's about the spaces we live in. It's about the spaces. It's about the neighborhoods, the communities that we live in. That's all environment. So, I mean, how can that not be the number one priority for our community, for our people, and particularly for a distressed city like Philadelphia? It is the number one. I mean, and especially when we're looking at and when we're paying so much attention to what's happening with respect to police violence or police-driven murders. George Floyd, that was an environmental justice issue. That was that moment where Derek Chauvin had his knee on George Floyd's neck. That moment was after a series of calamities, catastrophes, and missteps in George Floyd's life, all based on the spaces that he lived in, the spaces that he was forced into. It's always been about a battle for space or a battle for being protected in our, just struggling to be protected in the spaces that we live in, we navigate in, that we transport through. We're constantly trying to protect ourselves in those spaces. And so, we had, at some point, 50, 60 years ago, we had state-sanctioned Jim Crow in effect, particularly, especially in the South, and then, pernicious forms of it in the North. But Jim Crow is still very much alive in terms of how we are being forced into and then oppressed in the spaces that we live in. So we need to start seeing the environment so we can prioritize this issue as a battle for our space. And I that's why sometimes I do bristle a bit at these it's good, as a planet, as a globe, we're paying attention to the earth, because if you didn't have an earth, then we wouldn't exist. So, I mean, none of this would be happening. None of this would just be one big desolate rock in the middle of a vast, endless universe. So, you want to have an earth, you need to have the earth survive, because if the earth doesn't survive, then we don't survive. We don't, just none of this happens, and we don't carry on, right? But there's sort of these very kind of campfire, oh wow, happy Earth Day conversations, and and people are not getting it. People are not getting how really serious and severe this issue is, particularly people in our communities, in Black communities, and brown communities, and indigenous communities who we're under attack. Our spaces, our living spaces, the spaces that our children are in, right? Like schools, for example, toxic school. That's an environment. So we need to, what I'm hoping with this discussion that's going to come up in about an hour is that we also look to redefine what environment is in our minds, and to also continue to elevate this discussion to the top of our agenda list, because that's where it is, whether we like it or not, or whether we realize it or not. All right, let me take a break, and we'll come back in the noon hour with open phone lines and maybe a discussion about the environmental issues, the battle for your space that you're living through. I'd like to hear more about that. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900. Coming up here now on, as we transition out of Philadelphia City Council Live into Reality Check. We're here on WURD. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, it's Michelle Obama, and I wanted to let you know that Barack and I couldn't be more thrilled that we got our COVID-19 vaccine. This is a deadly disease, and we know the vaccine will protect us from getting really sick. It's how we'll start getting back to seeing friends and family and doing all those things we love again. So I hope you'll join me, Barack, and millions of others around the country and get your vaccine as soon as it's available to you. It's safe, it's free, and it could save your life or the life of someone you love. To learn more, just go to cdc.gov/coronavirus. I know it's been a long, hard year, but we can beat back this pandemic. With your help, we can do this.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Hello, this is Councilmember Kendra Brooks. I'm calling with important information about COVID-19 vaccines. In the coming weeks, all Philadelphians over the age of 16 will be eligible for vaccination. However, you must be registered with the city to get vaccinated. Register today at www.phila.gov and fill out the vaccine interest form or email covid@phila.gov. If you cannot complete the online form, call 311 to get registered. Your information is confidential. Get registered today. Thank you.
Okay, hers new fire potato chips and cheese curls. They are spicy. Whew, they're hottest snacks yet. Hold on. Whew. But you know, it's not just heat. There's some nice sweet and savory stuff going on too. Ooh, there's that heat again. It burns, but it burns so tasty. Ooh, that's hot. Find Hers Fire Snacks at your store today. Whew. Taste the flavor, feel the heat, break out the Hers.
Tune in Saturdays from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. to hear Empire Capital and Consulting founder Mark Palmer's show titled Black Money, Black Power. This show centers around black money and how black power is derived from money. Tune in every Saturday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Black Money, Black Power. Hosted by Mark Palmer.
Spring forward to throwback. All this month, when you start or renew your WURD membership, you'll get exclusive WURD throwback swag, vintage backpacks, books, and tees. While supplies last. Offer ends April 30th. Sow seeds into Black Talk Media and grow with us. Visit wordradio.com/join now to start or renew today. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media. Reality Check with Charles Ellison right now on WURD Radio and wordradio.com.
Okay, let's go to the phone lines. Tahir out of Ohio is calling in for a reality check. Tahir?
Hey, good morning, Charles. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I just wanted to have a couple comments. So number one, just on your environmental issues. You know, there was a brother that called another show earlier, and he was describing Micaiah's body. And Micaiah has a baby face, but he was describing her body as she could have been mistaken as she's grown. And just going along with your environmental piece, you know, over the last 40 or 50 years, starting that way back, and I say that because that's when all this fast and frozen food came out. And so we're at 2021. The food is contaminated, and that's why our children and our babies, and even us, are looking the way they look. The food is toxic and contaminated. And you know,
it's a good point. Yeah. No, it's a good point to make. It's a good point. I know it's for some people it's an uncomfortable conversation, but it's a conversation we need to have. It's real talk. I appreciate you bringing it up to here. It's real talk. I mean, we have we have food deserts and we have bad diets. A combination of that is and lack of access to nutrition. And so you're absolutely right. There's a lot of toxicity in the food.
And I don't. It's not just their body. It's their mind. So if you're eating toxic food, sugars, and all that kind of stuff, that also is a hindrance to your daily mental health.
It is.
So I wanted to bring that out on your point. Now, in regards to this whole shooting, Charles, here's what's going on. This is the third killing of a white police officer since December 2020. One in December, Casey Gooden, one in February, Andre Hill, and now Micaiah. There's a clear problem here in Ohio with law enforcement. Two, Columbus PD, one with the sheriff, all white, everybody else is black. Micaiah is a baby. That, to jump out the car and make a decision in the time frame that he made it, again, to me, it demonstrates a very, very clear problem. And just as they are looking to go into Minnesota and change that law enforcement system, they need to come down here and do that. And I will be part of any advocacy that's going to do that. So, it's very unfortunate. I can tell you I am 2 blocks away from Regent Street from where Micaiah was murdered. And it's just a very, very unfortunate thing. And all these scenarios about she came out with a gun and a knife and this, that, and the other, it was a fight. It was a very unfortunate fight. Our young sister had a knife. It's very unfortunate. It was very violent. But I have to tell you this. I think we've all seen fights with knives and so forth and so on. and no, they never end up good.
Right.
But I don't think that this young girl should be dead today, and I don't think the other two black men should be dead as well. It speaks to a larger problem that, like I said, I'm going to be on board down here to try to help get addressed. Thank you, Charles.
Right. No, thank you, Tahir. I appreciate you. And you know, I'm still grappling with like why does a sister with a knife, why is she so easily shot and killed? But you know, once again, it's hard to shoot and kill when the seat of government is being attacked by you know, thousands of terrorists. It's hard to shoot and kill on site in multiple instances. I mean, I've been seeing this throughout the years. It was so bad. I was seeing this like several years ago, and I had to write about it for the root.com. I wrote about it and had like looked into it, looked at the studies on it by the Federal Justice Department and also by the Congressional Research Service, because it was just, I notice it every time. I'm like, how are these dudes, how are they surviving these moments? Like, they'll be heavily armed, they'll have already murdered dozens of innocent civilians, and the police never fire on them. Or if they do fire on them, you know, they're sure enough to just injure them. You know, they make sure that they survive that they survive that encounter. We look at Dylan Roof after you know, he killed over a dozen people in the AME church in Charleston, South Carolina, and look at the interaction that he had with police. You know, going so far as to take him to get a burger. So I mean, you know, he survived that encounter. So it's just the contrast is so gripping, and it should be called out. And we have to like how it, you know, we need to look a lot deeper into. So if, like, for example, in a city like Philadelphia, or any major city for that example, you know, start taking tours of police academies. Like, what exactly are you all learning in class? What are you being trained on? How are you being, like, we don't know about that yet, do we? Like, we need to start having a real deep conversation about what exactly are they learning in police training academies and police training programs. Like, we really don't know. Like, I've never toured. Have you ever toured a police? Maybe that's something I'd like to do. Maybe after pandemic, when the dust settles a bit, I'd like to take a tour of a police training facility or police training academy. Like, and if there are issues that are happening in terms of how these men and women are being trained, well, we need to look at the funding. Okay, that's something I'd look. Okay, well, maybe we need to like seriously reevaluate and address the funding there that's going into that, or how to make better use of that. Because obviously, like, those academies are failing. I mean, they're failing on an epic scale. Let's continue to go to the phone lines. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900. Maurice out of Southwest.
Hey, Charles, how you feeling today?
All right. What's happening?
I want to ask you something, Charles. What did you get out of City Council today that was meaningful to black people?
Go ahead.
You know me. I ask these straight up questions. I don't beat around the bush.
No. You know, I mean, today, you know, like I said, it was a lot of like
slapping ass.
No, I want to say, got to be careful. It's family-friendly radio, but a lot of pats on the back about, you know, like Earth Day, and I'm like, well, are we tracking money like pandemic relief? Like, I want to have a conversation about it, and I want to know if City Council is tracking money that's coming from the Federal American Rescue Plan, because there's billions of dollars coming to Philadelphia. Okay, well, how are you going to use that money for environmental justice or environmental quality programs and initiatives? And what are your plans for infrastructure money, federal infrastructure money that's coming down the pike? Because a lot of that's going to also come to the region, come to Philadelphia.
Well,
those are the kind of conversations I want to hear.
Charles, I hear a whole lot of talk about what other people did in other states, about their courage and all this. Like, when after the trial, I think that the groups, including Black Lives Matter, should have still marched to show here in Philadelphia that we're not going to stand for mistreatment of the black community. But, of course, when we get a victory, we go sit down and have some tea and forget about what the cause is. We still got murders. We still got a police union that actually runs the police department. Nobody's talking about it. They keep talking about this so-called board, but it sounds like another board with no muscle. You know, we don't even know who's on it. And then, you know, when they sit around, and you know, we're a city in crisis, and how can you end a council meeting early when we're the poorest city in the nation? It's a large city. I mean, where do you have the gall to say, you know what, our work is done, so we'll see y'all next week? I mean, come on. I mean, maybe does anybody else need to speak? Can somebody call in right now and speak? Because the way it's set up right now, I looked at other city councils on YouTube around the country. They're allowed to bring up an issue from last November and say, hey, Councilman Jones, how's those cameras working out? Nobody can ask them kind of questions. It's not on that docket. And the way Michelle Parker read off them numbers, I mean, after a while, you just stop paying attention. Like, what is she talking about? What are these numbers?
I mean, so I'll say this. I think you raised some good points, Maurice. One, you know, I still encourage people, you know, one, do get more involved in public comment and make sure that you are going to phlcouncil.com, finding out about, because I mean, based on the Sunshine Act, the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act, I mean, council is they found a loophole. They found a loophole where they basically can, you know, limit it to discussion on bills. So I mean, one strategy, one way for people to come on there right now, based on the current city council bills, because I do believe there needs to be an evaluation of city council rules with respect to public comment. But one thing you should do is, you know, just start, you know, when you go for public comment, go in there and act like you're going there to talk about a resolution and say, oh yeah, hey, I support resolution such and such, where you're honoring this person. And a split second later going to, hey, did you know that like the 200th person in Philadelphia just got killed yesterday, and I need to know what council is going to do about it. Like, I mean, those are the kinds of dramatic things that are going to have to start happening. But people go along with it. But Maurice, to your point, which you made a good one, people keep going along with it, though. It's a lot of people out there. First of all, there's a lot of people not voting in city council elections, and a lot of people seem to go along with the shenanigans. They seem to they're fine with it. So a lot of people come on there and they have public comment, and they go along with the honorific resolution thing. They seem not to be bothered by it.
Charles, one thing is, I've seen people try to do that when we had live city council, and Darrell Clark shuts their mic off. And not only does he shut their mic off, he has that person escorted out of chambers. And when you're on Zoom, I mean, I don't think they're even paying attention, because half the time.
Well, that's why I'll be honest with you, Maurice. That's why at this point there's going to have to be more discussion, and people are going to have to create a movement around it. People are going to have to create a movement around it to make that change, to force council to make that change. If you have, say, for example, one day in city council, you have 50 people lined up doing public comment, and I'm just saying it's a way to kind of start putting pressure on that issue, or start calling your city council persons and saying, hey, you know, that's another thing that has not happened. I mean, I can only do but so much and project that cause, because I've been talking about it every week. But people need to start calling the city council president and their city council members and saying, hey, listen, we find the inordinate amount of focus on honorific resolutions offensive, especially given what the city is going through right now. Can you stop doing it? You guys need to revise the format. Like, let's do that. Like, but it's going to take like a mass of people raising that concern and saying, hey, listen, when you guys spend so much time on honorific resolutions, it really sounds like you're not doing anything, that you're not doing the city's work. And I think it's time to bring that up. So, I mean, people are going to have to do that. Let me, Maurice, no, it's some very good points, though. I think Maurice is spot on about that. I agree. Let me go to Maria out of Point Breeze, who's calling in for a reality check. Maria?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Charles. They keep saying there's no, I want to quote on a couple of things. First of all, they say the city don't have no money. But did everybody check into the tax abatement? Tax abatement, the people who have tax abatement don't pay taxes. They don't pay for education. They don't pay for the police department. And a couple other entities they don't pay. So what the city is doing, the mayor and the council is making longtime residents pay for the police department education, for the education. And they need to get rid of Dr. Height. He got a $500,000 salary. Philadelphia got the poorest public school.
It's like 300,000, but go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, 500,000. And his wife.
Is it 500,000 or 300,000?
I said it was 500,000.
No. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I might be wrong. You might be right. And his wife worked for Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Now.
Yeah, it's 300,000. I just want to make sure that we're straight on the record there. I don't want to give him $200,000 more, especially when he doesn't deserve it. Like, you know, he's not earning it. So you got 300,000. Please don't give Dr. Height any more money.
No, I don't. I don't give him no praises at all. Because I went to a lot of.
He doesn't deserve the salary he's getting now. Like, but go ahead.
Yes, they really need to get rid of him because he came in with Mayor Nutter, and he was put under Betty DeVos. Our school has been destroyed. Now, I live right down the street from Smith School. There were certain amount of people that were fought for the school. Well, this is where it gets tricky. We went to court and everything. Kenyatta and everybody else did backdoor deal with Concordian. Concordian got the school. Concordian, less than 12 hours, sold it to Worry Firebush, the Smith School project, right here in 19th and Wood. Then we go over to Port-au-Prince. Last week they were outraged. There was people that came out and saying they were tired of it. But my thing is, this developer has done a lot in his community to destroy us. Now the supermarket is going, different entity on a commercial corridor, which Darrell Clark put in Neighborhood Preservation Initiative, a $400 million program. Port-au-Prince has been exempt for a lot of things. And also, Port-au-Prince has a lot of senior citizens that needs to go shopping food. This developer has told us, you're nothing but niggers. He called me a nigger at one of the meetings.
Okay, yeah, be careful though while we went on live air when you say that word though, Ms. Maria. But I hear you. Go ahead.
No, but my thing is, we have ministers in this area that don't care about the community because they don't live here. Mm-hmm. I'm just getting tired of the rhetoric that the new people come in and saying we don't care. We were good enough to work and shine their shoes, take care of the children, do every other thing. And, you know, and I'm surprised at Kenyatta. I fought for him to come into council. For state, when he was state. And I am so upset about that because I know when the government's spending money, it goes to the state, it goes to the city, and it goes to the council. Yeah. Now, they keep crying, there's no money. Take that abatement off the table and let them pay their fair share. If you can buy a $250,000 property, you can pay your taxes. Our taxes not getting decreased, it's been increased. Okay. You know, and Kenyatta has done an injustice to the Port-au-Prince area. And then we have Constant Holly, Senior Citizen Priest.
I think we're actually scheduled to, I think it's week after next. I think we're scheduled to talk with Councilmember Johnson. We're finally able to get on his calendar, so I'm looking forward to that conversation. Zoning and the situation that's been happening, you know, the in that area in his district, that is a topic. I did approach him about that, and so he's agreed to. I forget the exact date, but he is scheduled to come on at some point soon. So I'll keep people apprised of that. I have to let you go, Ms. Murray. Let's take a break. And when we come back, phone lines remain open at 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900. Let's be right back.
What's up, Philly? It's Sincerely Sarita. The world is inching back to normalcy, but our approach to educating our children may never be the same. Commonwealth Charter Academy, or CCA, has nearly 20 years of experience providing a flexible, stable, online education in the comfort of your home. Enroll today at ccaeducate.me.
Here are the benefits to your children and your family. Number 1, world-class education and accredited lesson plans streamed directly into your home at no cost to you. Number 2, laptops, headphones, and high high-speed internet access, all provided at no cost to you. And number 3, a learning environment completely free from classroom risks like bullying and other distractions.
CCA has been in our community long before this health crisis and will continue to faithfully serve students and families well into the future. Join the more than 2,500 students from Philly who already attend CCA. Enroll now at ccaeducate.me.
Between family dinners, bedtime stories, and study sessions, Pico knows that life never stops moving. So if you need help paying your energy bills, there are financial programs available, like the Customer Assistance Program, or CAP, that offers a monthly credit that can lower your gas and electricity payments. Learn how Pico can help keep your life moving with CAP. See if you qualify at pico.com/CAP.
Looking for an exciting and well-paying new career opportunity? MCAP is a free manufacturing career accelerator program. In just 7 weeks, learn new career skills, earn industry certifications, and connect to manufacturing companies who are hiring. To see if MCAP is right for you, call 215-770-7101. That's 215-770-7101. MCAP is brought to you by Drexel University's Goodwin College of Professional Studies in partnership with EDSI Incorporated. MCAP is an equal opportunity program. Diverse candidates, including women and people of color, are strongly encouraged to apply.
Check with Charles Ellison right now on WURD Radio and WURDradio.com.
All right, welcome back to Reality Check. This is the post City Council live session here on Thursdays on WURD. Phone lines are open at 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. Also, we are now at 154 homicides in the city of Philadelphia, 154 homicides. The homicide rate, the murder rate in Philadelphia is 31% above where it was the same time last year. So there was about 118 murders in Philadelphia at the same time in 2020. So it is now at 154. So it's a word of advice to City Council when you have these sessions, when you meet as a whole. First of all, I just had to let people know, you should try to make a daily habit out of going to phlcouncil.com. And, we should make a daily habit out of, trying to find a rhythm somewhere and trying to figure out a way to institute this more often. Just letting people know there are other hearings. So there are city council committees. They do schedule and hold hearings. You can now watch those hearings virtually. Just go to phlcouncil.com and you can get that legislative calendar or that calendar of, you see it right there at the top of the page, calendar, and then council meeting calendar, and you can find out what's coming up. There's typically city council meetings and hearings that are happening every week, sometimes every day during some weeks. But word of advice to city council in terms of when you have these meetings of the whole, that's when council meets as a whole. You should be acknowledging things like this. Figure out a way in the format to acknowledge each time, let the city know, hey, listen, we're hearing you, we're watching this, we're worried, we're concerned, we're thinking about things to do about this. Acknowledge, it's 154 people that have been murdered in Philadelphia just in 2021 thus far, and 600 people shot, so non-fatally thus far in 2021. And it's just, they're going to have to figure that out. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. Let me go to George out of Center City calling in for a Reality Check. George, what's up?
Yes, Charles, how you feel today?
Yes, sir. What's happening? All right.
I had to agree with Maurice today. Council was the most boringest council that they had in a long time. But they're happy with that. They want to try to make this permanent, So, City Hall, nobody's been in City Hall in a year. None of those council offices are open or have anybody been in them. Most of them, if you call the office, they don't even have the phones transferred. But you know what Josh Shapiro called that? Theft of services. That's called theft of services. You're getting paid for doing something that you're getting paid for something that you're not performing or producing. But you watch. They're going to do this right up until about the last 6 months. They're going to do it like another year and a half, before they run. And then they're going to start telling you all this crazy stuff they've done. Then they're going to start telling you about, the violence. They want this violence to keep going because that's good PR for them, a good campaign stunt. We're going to stop the violence. We're going to pour money into this and pour money into that. No, that's not going to do it. But I didn't even call you for that foolishness, Charles. That'll take care of itself. Council's happy that they're doing that because they don't have to deal with their constituents hugging them, touching them. They act like they got COVID. They don't want. They never like people touching them anyway. They don't even like their constituents. But these constituents still kiss up to them. That's why they act the way they do and treat them the way they treat them. But, Charles, what I called you for to bring to your attention, not that you didn't know it already, but, the Philadelphia Police Department, every time somebody get arrested, they put them all in the same cell, no mask, no disinfect, no nothing. Maybe you get somebody from the health department to answer that question. Now the city's getting sued for that. Everybody who's been put in a cell with another person and not a mask or no type of, no social distance, they're suing them. They got lawyers actually passing out cards when people get, from these police stations. They're suing. So the city going to be paying out some more money because they can't win that. And then not only that, the Philadelphia Police Department, you go to every district. None of the police have any type of sanitized, no sanitate, the sanitizing for your hands and all that. No gloves, no mask, no nothing. If you go in there, most of the cops are working with in deplorable conditions. They treating them worse than they treat the sanitation department. Remember when the guy came on your show and said, oh, well, we're going to make sure that all the trucks at the end of the day be clean and disinfected and all. Now, one of those trucks been disinfected. Now, one of those places where the city sanitation workers work, they don't even mop, disinfect none of the rooms or anything. They don't clean the trucks at night. They don't do any of that for these city workers. But now lawsuits are beginning to pop up. So let's see what they do. But that's what happens when you have an irresponsible council. None of them come to work. None of them they just walk around the house all day with their night clothes on, with their house coats on. They so trifling. Some of them, they run to the store with their night pajamas on like some of these trifling people do. Believe me, you got a trifling council, But, Charles, you should really deal with this health issue here because it's serious. Everybody that goes to that police station, go into a cell, person can have COVID. And not only that, the police have to buy their own.
Well, I mean, first thing is, we have to encourage people not to get arrested. Some folks out there who engage in the type of behavior where they get arrested. So, I mean, that's one. And then two, but you're absolutely right. I mean, we do have to ensure that justice systems and jail systems are being humane and being efficient in the way that they treat prisoners when they're processing people. And so it doesn't work out for anyone if, like, certain people, certain knuckleheads getting arrested, that happens, and they shouldn't be, but they do. But it's not doing the community any good. It's not doing that jail facility any good, those employees any good, and the rest of the community any good if we're constantly spreading COVID. Like, that's not doing anyone good. So, yeah, it's something that should be addressed. So, no, thanks so much, George. I got to let you go because I got a lot of calls here. But, no, some good points. I appreciate you. Let me go to Dolores out of Germantown, who's calling in for a reality check. Dolores?
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm okay, Mr. Ellison. I wanted to ask a question. I guess the fire that we had that was on the main Pennsylvania on Tuesday.
I'm sorry, Dolores. I can't hear you too well. You sound a little muffled. I'm not sure why. I want to make sure I hear everything you're saying.
Okay. Let me see.
Oh, that's better. Yeah, that's better. There we go.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Ms.
I'm better.
Dolores. Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to know the fire that we had on Tuesday, like at 10th Venango. The fire was like on the railroad track banks, and I have a home like in that vicinity, and it's just like this is the second fire that was there over the railroad bank, and I would like to know who would I have to talk to? Would it be my ward leader or my city council person that could probably sit down with the railroad company, because I see they have like noise walls or firewalls up in other neighborhoods, and I'm figuring, like if we could get a firewall or a noise barrier up in our neighborhood so
Yeah.
These fires happen, our homes are not threatened.
Yeah, that was. Thank you for raising that too. That strikes a chord with me because as someone who grew up in a house where like right behind my backyard, and I grew up in the back. I grew up in the back room. Was a train track, like
Right.
SEPTA regional rail. Like I had to sleep through that, and in fact, years later, it affected the way that I slept because my wife used to get on me. I mean, I'm better at it now. She's like, you could sleep through a bomb drop. Like, she's like, I don't know how you do it. It was from trains, just sleeping through that all throughout my lifetime. But you're absolutely right. And there are no barriers. At best, there's a barrier to keep people from going onto the tracks because, you would have young people, some of us kids would wander, find gaps through the chain link fence and and go out on the tracks when we weren't supposed to, but we would do that. But you're right, you do see in other neighborhoods and more affluent sections and in certain places, certain states, like they erect those kinds of barriers. But that's something that should be looked at. I mean, that is something too that was raised in the city council session we just had. It should be raised more where there's worries about liquefied natural gas being transported by train through Philadelphia and through parts of Philadelphia, neighborhoods like the ones that you live in and that I grew up in. That's a serious issue, and so we need to look. I think first start is city council. Like you need you need to start talking immediately with your city council person and keep us updated. Keep me updated. CLS, even if do you send email? Do you use email, Ms. Dolores?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, send an email. First call your city council person. Find out who you what email you need to send your concern to, because I think it's a valid one, and copy me at cellison@wordradio.com. To let them know you raise this on the program, and that we're keeping just an eye on it. But I'd like to see how they respond. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ellison.
Yeah, no, thanks so much. And so, when we're talking about like dangers on train tracks and also trash issues, abandoned car issues, first stop is your city council person, and then let us know. That's something that I am particularly rankled about, is the lack of city hall, city council, just overall city government response to these trash and mounting environmental problems. Those are environmental problems, and they lead to a bad quality of life. So I'd like to know. Keep me posted on that. Feel free to copy my email when you reach out to a city council person about those like trash, environmental toxicity issues, or like issues like Ms. Dolores raised. But the first point of contact is your city council person, and making sure that they're aware of it, and they're also plugging you into the the necessary or relevant city agencies to respond to that. Let me go to Joseph out of Massachusetts, calling in for a reality check. Joseph, what's good? Joseph? Joseph going once. Joseph going twice. And Joseph going 3 times. We can't catch you, Joseph. I don't know what happened to you, but call back. Let me go to Patrick out of Kensington, calling in for a reality check. Patrick.
And Joseph is gone.
Yeah, Joseph is gone. Maybe he'll come. What's happening, Patrick?
I appreciate you saying that the Philadelphia City Council's public comment needs to be looked at and revised. Just give me a second to say this, because a lot of times me and you kind of go over each other. I don't want you to think that I don't appreciate your work. Okay?
No, I appreciate it, Patrick, but go ahead.
But what I'm saying is that in other council meetings in Pittsburgh, in Harrisburg, here in New Jersey, in Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, these are cities I've spoken at public comment.
Okay.
There's open public comment sections in all of the council meetings, along with comments in a separate section. Some of them have them all together, by the way, but all of them at least have an open public comment section. The only city council meeting that I've ever been to in my life that doesn't allow for open public comment is the city of Philadelphia, where the First Amendment was signed. The First Amendment of the Constitution. How many blocks? 9 blocks away. So my issue.
I've heard there are other cities that have been doing that. They've been using it as a sort of muzzling technique. Like I think San Francisco was brought to my attention. Had in recent years did that. Kind of did some of the Philadelphia format, for lack of a better term, right now. But go ahead.
So Pennsylvania's Sunshine Act is very clear. It says that citizens, or what they call residents, basically taxpayers or residents, meaning a business owner could also make comments, are allowed to make comments of matters of concern, and then there's a comma, or matters that are or may be on the calendar. Now that's pretty broad. Wouldn't you agree that is pretty broad?
It is broad, but that's where that part right there, right, is where I guess City Council's been finding a loophole. Like they've got some, they figure they've got some latitude because because you have to focus on what's on the calendar, and what's on the calendar is the legislation that they're deliberating over in that moment. So in some respects it's broad, in some respects it's not. Like council is using it to that.
Very quickly, Charles, do you know why though? Do you know why that they allow comment on agenda items at the council hearing? So you weren't in the city then. 2010, there was a landlord that sued City Council of Philadelphia, and guess what? City Council of Philadelphia did not have any comment period before the landlord sued in 2010. And he won the right, and the judge limited the comment section to only comments of matters that were on the agenda, because that's all that the landlord asked for, because the matter that was on the agenda had to do with his business. Okay, so what I'm saying. I'm reading here from the Sunshine Act right now from the Office of Open Records in Pennsylvania, and it's the Sunshine Act gives the public the right to comment on issues, quote, that are or may be before the board. Agencies must provide a reasonable opportunity to, and that's what they're pretty much. So here's a question, Patrick. Like, if we how do we do an open? Here's my big question. This is why I had to. I just have to ask you. How do we do an open comment period though? How does Philadelphia do it, especially since you talked to the other cities? How would Philadelphia have to do it? How does every other city do it? You had made the comment last time we spoke about this, that if you make an open public comment period, what happens if 1.5 million people show up to make a comment, which is the most ridiculous argument I've ever heard, because that could happen right now. What if 1.5 million people show up to comment on an agenda item?
It's not a ridiculous argument. I think it's a valid argument, because I do want an open comment period, Patrick. I'm not against that. I just want something that's not unruly. I don't want a bunch of people showing up and then being given this false expectation that something's going to get done, because all they have to do is walk up to a microphone, whether it's in person or virtual, and just spout off whatever on their mind. Like, what is the format? That's all. Like, I'm tired of people. It's just like honorific resolutions. People are being set up to think that council's actually going about getting some business done with honorific resolutions when it's all a decoy. Like, they're not really doing jack. And so I want to make sure that these things are. You understand what I'm saying, Patrick? That's what I'm getting at. I want to make sure that these types of formats are productive. Like, that actually, like, people are getting it. Like, it's actually does something.
Can you do me a favor? So please read the prior to where it says matters that are or may be before the board. It says matters of concern, and there's a comment or comma. That means any matter of concern that a citizen has, they should be able to bring before the council.
Right.
Okay. So
I'm not. See, the thing is, Patrick. Actually, I'm not arguing with you on that point. I actually agree with you. I want open public comment. I also want to get rid of honorific resolutions. I hope you're with me on getting rid of honorific resolutions. Maybe we can team up on that.
Can I tell you what, Charles? I don't understand how after that's done, everybody's back is not terribly bruised.
That's what I'm saying. Like, get rid of honorific resolutions, open up public comment, but I'm just putting an asterisk on it, and I'm challenging you on that point, Patrick. What does that look like?
I can tell you, it looks like
it can't just be open for the sake of
every other city.
Yeah, I just need to know. That's what I'm saying. Like, you had studied it, and I haven't. So it's like, how do you do that?
We're not designing a new feature here. It's in every other city. You have an open public comment section, and you have a comment.
But how long does it go for? Like, what does it just go on perpetuity for the whole day? Is that what it does? Like, I'm curious. I need like, what's the format?
How long do the resolutions go on for? I mean, sometimes they go on for 3 hours.
Yeah, 3 hours. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Is that what the public comment period? Is that what we're expecting?
What's more important, telling somebody they did a great job or listening to the concerns of the citizens of Philadelphia who are dying in the street?
I think you're right, but I'm just trying to make sure that people understand what the format is. Hey, you only have a certain amount of period to talk.
Patting each other on the back or hearing about the issues from the citizens. What's more important?
That's more important. I totally agree with you. I'm a format. I'm a structure kind of guy.
Me too.
I'm like, I need to see, like, I have to visualize in my head, okay, well, how is this going to work and make constituents feel equipped and armed, like they're having a productive interaction with their city council meeting. What's that?
Hey, Charles, thank you very much, though.
Yeah, no, thanks so much. Patrick, I'm with you. I'm with you on an open public comment period. There's two things that rankle me about city council is, like, honorific resolutions. I've been saying it for now months. Like, y'all really need to reevaluate that and get rid of it. Put it into not necessarily get rid of it, put it in another section for another time. Maybe a special committee on honorific resolutions. And I say that non-facetiously. That's not a joke. Like, seriously, create a special committee like you create special committees on other issues that's specifically dedicated to sorting out honorific resolutions. And maybe get young people involved, like team up with Philadelphia Public School Systems and get young people. That's a way, bring them in to maybe facilitate that or do it as a project. And that's a great way, like it's like an onboard for them to learn, oh, this is how city council operates, right? And so you teach them through honorific resolutions. But otherwise, like, I would be keeping it. I think people really seriously, and folks out there, like, stop calling in and, like, placating council by going along with it and then giving testimony in support of honorific resolutions. Like, the more people who do that, like, you're egging them on, like, you're making it seem like it's not a problem when it is. So so that's one. And then two, to Patrick's point, yes, like, we need to open up public comment in a very fruitful way, in a way that feels productive for the constituents and they feel really, truly, genuinely plugged into their city council. So to do that, but that needs to be organized. It needs to be structured. It can't just be like, let's just open up the mic and just step up and say whatever you want and go on ad nauseum. That could get people who really have substantive, productive things to say could get turned off because then there's other folks who are going up there who don't have such productive things to say, and then suddenly you sabotage you self-sabotage the process. That's all I'm saying, Patrick. So anyway, let me take a break. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900. Gary out of Chester, hold on for one moment. We'll be right back.
Hello, this is Councilmember Isaiah Thomas urging you to vote for Judge John Padova on May 18th to keep this distinguished judge on the Court of Common Pleas. In addition to myself, he is also supported by State Senator Tony Williams, as well as State Senator Vincent Hughes, Representatives Joanne McClinton and Jordan Harris, as well as former Governor Ed Rendell and many others. Judge Padova is highly recommended by the Bar Association and endorsed by the Black clergy, as well as a lot of our local unions. For fairness, equity, and compassion, vote Judge Padova for all Philadelphians.
This is Judge Padova, and I approve this message.
Just one more step. You got it.
You're doing great. This is the sound of a nationally ranked top rehabilitation hospital, home to the largest collection of robotics in the United States, where we continually exceed patient expectations, because no injury is too severe or too minor for our care.
There you go.
This is the sound of success. Moss Rehab. Challenge accepted.
A Part of Me boutique, located 3834 Lancaster Avenue, sells men's and women's clothing, shoes, and beautiful accessories. Items can be ordered if not in the store. Check out our lovely one-of-a-kind chairs with reupholstered African fabric. A Part of Me is open Wednesday through Saturday from 11:30 to 6 p.m. You can expect friendly, professional service and unique finds. A Part of Me boutique, located 3834 Lancaster Avenue, sells men's and women's clothing, shoes, and beautiful accessories. Items can be ordered if not in the store. Check out our lovely one-of-a-kind chairs with reupholstered African fabric. A Part of Me is open Wednesday through Saturday from 11:30 to 6 p.m. You can expect friendly, professional service and unique finds.
Listening to the Streets brings together young men to create street-level solutions to gun violence. Participants receive a $240 stipend, and if they attend 8 sessions, they're guaranteed a job offer. Man Up PHL and WURD want to end gun violence. Listening to the Streets is a step. Interested? Call 267-748-7818. That's 267-748-7818. Or email us at info@manupPHL.org.
With Charles Ellison right now on WURD Radio and WURDRadio.com.
All right, welcome back to Reality Check. Let me go to Gary out of Chester. He's been holding patiently here on Reality Check. Gary, how are you doing, sir?
Mr. Ellison, thanks for taking my call. I
Yes,
enjoy your show so much. I learned so much about, the politics on your show.
Okay,
now,
thank you.
Mr. Ellis, that fire that happened in Philadelphia, that's the freight rail. I think it's CSX. So
CSX? Okay.
Yeah, CSX. I think if that person probably can contact somebody from CSX and let them know about the fire there, because a lot of times the headquarters, I think, in Tennessee. So a lot of times they don't know about that. Now, Mr. Ellison, here's my problem about the trash and stuff, the illegal dumping. Instead of Philadelphia, y'all arrest everybody for traffic stop, license plates, and all that, but y'all never arrest nobody for the illegal dumping. In the Eastwick section, it might as well be a sign that says you can dump here. I just understand about the city of Philadelphia.
No, you're right. You're right. And I know you out of Chester. I mean, Chester is also being used as like the main garbage dump. Yeah, I mean, you're
chemicals and everything. Yeah.
Right. Philly's dumping all its trash on Chester. Chester is like the largest regional dumping ground in the country. In fact, I think we have Zuline Mayfield, who lives in Chester, longtime activist there. She's coming on.
Fight with that. And you know what, Mr. Ellison, you know what we're going to do in the city of Chester? We're going to elect the same city officials over and over again. Because we play the game by, I know them. Oh, yeah, I like them.
Yep.
And we're going to keep getting the same thing. We need something radical. We need some radical people to come in here and change this city around.
That's right.
Because what's going on in the city of Chester right now, Mr. Ellison, they're doing land stealing. There's so many art museums in the city of Chester, it's ridiculous. And what these guys are doing, they're buying the land. So as soon as the city changes, they're going to own all the stores and everything. Now, these people in the city of Chester, I don't know how much further you're going to push them, because everybody from Philly is now living in Collindales and Fallcroft, which I was surprised. I never forget when I met a black guy who told me he lived in Fallcroft. I asked him, do you want me to come get you? Because I didn't know we lived out there.
No, we're getting pushed out of the cities and further out. That's actually that's been a trend that's been escalating, especially over the past 10 years, in all the major metropolitan areas. Yeah, we're getting further pushed out, further and further into the suburbs. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, and I appreciate you pointing that out too, Gary. It's a problem. And like, hear how Gary said it. We keep electing the same people or not electing them, because there's a lot of folks when it comes to these local elections don't vote. So people in Philadelphia, you're tired of city council. Well, then, if there's 1.2 million people registered in the city of Philadelphia, where are the 1.2 million people to vote en masse during Philadelphia city council elections? Like, y'all really think that, less than 30% turnout is going to give you the type of government that you all complain about wanting? Y'all, there's a bunch of people out there really think that. There's a bunch of, especially non-voting people, think like all we gotta do is sit here and complain, and we'll get the government we want. Like, it's people out there really think that. And so, if it's just, I've said this before, like, less than 30% turnout means you're going to get less than 30% response. You're going to get a less than 30% performance rate. What's 30%? I mean, it's just simple math. Like, it's like going back to school. Like, if you got a 30% on your paper or on your quiz or test, what'd that mean? That means you failed. So no wonder, like, Philadelphia government is failing on all these issues, because it's like they're only, the city's only perform. First of all, voters are only performing at less than 30%. So the city government, including the city council, performs at less than 30%. So what do y'all expect? But then if you start getting up there to the 80s and the 90s, 80, 90%, and that's not, to me, that's something that is possible. That's within the realm of possibility. When you start having 80, 90% turnout, you start getting like 80, 90% performance rates. Because then, especially when you kick out folks who, you feel have been in these positions for a long time and have been non-performing. Like in the example like Gary out of Chester, it's really bad in Chester. And, I actually know quite a few people who are from Chester, who grew up in Chester, and they're dealing with health issues that suddenly popped up. And it's really bad, because they're like a huge, like, regional, really more, and not just regional, like Philly region, like mid-Atlantic regional dumping ground. So there's all kinds of toxicity happening in Chester, just like there's all kinds of toxicity happening in Philadelphia. Let me go to Joseph in Massachusetts, who's waiting patiently for a reality check. Joseph, what's good?
How you doing, Mr. Allison?
All right, what's happening?
Yeah, I had my button on mute. Yeah, you know what all great revolutionists have in common, Mr. Ellison? Vladimir Lenin, Fidel Castro, Raul Castro, Che Guevara, Mao Zedong, 1949, Bolshevik Revolution. They take advantage of an opportunity. And with this coronavirus, I say to black people, we need to jump forward. Our biggest problem, you know what's our biggest problem, Mr. Ellison?
I mean, they take advantage of opportunity, or they've taken advantage of opportunity, Joseph. But I mean, but millions of people die as a result when those. I'm trying to figure out a way where tools and mechanisms and options are exhausted, and they haven't been yet. So I'm not talking about. We don't need to get to the point of like armed revolution to make these changes. This stuff is like low-hanging fruit. It's things that people could do, but people refuse to see that they can do. Go ahead, Joseph.
I speak, yeah. This is what I'm saying. We have a leader's mentality. I guess it's the divine nine or whatever, but y'all talk down to people and make people feel like they're stupid, like they don't know how to do it for themselves. We do like the Chinese. Why do you think the Chinese kicking our butt? Because the most important thing the Chinese parents teach their kids is to learn, is to self-educate, self-discipline. We need to teach. We always talk about a lot of them in Philadelphia can't read or write, but you making it sound like you criticizing them.
I'm not. No, Joseph. That's not what I'm doing. I'm saying that there is a real, and I'm not being patronizing. I'm not being. When I raise that issue, that's coming from a place like where I'm really troubled. By the way, you should be troubled. And it's not just in terms of black people. I mean, we have half the country can't read above an 8th grade level. And then we wonder why we're having problems with our politics. That's a problem. That's a problem that has to be raised. And the reason that it doesn't get fixed is because, like, we're not raising it. We're not talking about it. I'm going to talk about it. And frankly, it does resonate with quite a few people who keep hearing that conversation. Like, we had a council member in session today, and he's talking about standardized testing. It's like, I have not heard y'all yet, as a council, bring up the very alarming high illiteracy rate in your city, and then you're wondering why there's a violent crime crisis. No, that's not offending people. That's not offending people, Joseph. That's addressing a real crisis.
Can I make a point? Can I make my point?
Yeah, make your last point. Go ahead.
The point is, we have a leader's mentality. We just criticize and say we don't criticize and don't do nothing about it. It's self-education. You got to teach black people to educate themselves. Carly G. Wilson said, you teach a Negro to go through the back door.
I read plenty of Woodson.
Listen, I'm telling you, we can make a big difference. Cuba, 98% of people in Cuba can read and write.
Yeah.
We can do it. But the problem is, y'all talk with an elitist mentality. Like you.
All right, hey Joseph, let me. I gotta go because I gotta let you go. But because I don't know what you're saying. Like, okay, just because we're talking about a literacy issue or a literacy problem, or that we need more people, more adults to read, that suddenly makes me elitist. That's like when, like I used to be up in the classroom and, and I knew the answers to certain questions and I wanted to be engaged. Oh, but I was too white for doing that. Like, we need to cut that out. Like let's have a conversation about how we can reach standards of academic and intellectual excellence in our community. And that starts through literacy. And I don't understand why you clapping back on that. I don't understand why, and you're not doing it. Sometimes there's a little occasional clapback from people like, oh, you're being elitist. Well, because I want everyone to read, to know how to read and be able to access whatever opportunity to open up the possibilities for everyone. Like, get out of here with that. Like, cut that out. Like that's no. That's a conversation we need to like have a conversation about and look to plan for how we raise a standard of excellence and opportunity in our community. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all. That doesn't make me elitist at all. But no, thanks for calling as always and listening. Really appreciate you. All right, our Earth Day special, the Fight for Our Space, is coming up next. So I'm actually going to hang on, and I'm going to host that coming up next. So in place of the source, we have a special Earth Day broadcast here on WURD as part of EcoWord. Go to ecoword.com for more. So want to thank Troy Wilmore, too, for hanging in there at the board of steel, and thank everyone else for listening in. I'm Charles Ellison. I'm your anchor for City Council Live and also your host, executive producer, creator of Reality Check at Ellison Report on Twitter.com. Everyone in Philly wants you to stay sharp, stay smart, but more importantly, stay safe out there, and I will talk to you in about several minutes here on WURD.